All right. Well, everyone is May 26th. We'll early start, 6 p.m. Do I have a motion to set the agenda? Move by Mr. Gilmore, seconded by Ms. Schlegel. All in favor? Aye. The Scituate Select Board encourages an environment of respect during our meetings, and encourage everyone to interact in a polite manner. We value the participation of everyone, including marginalized and marginalized communities, to feel welcome and respected. Please commit to these standards to support and respect our community and participate in an orderly and peaceful manner. I hope everyone had a lovely weekend. Lovely event, very somber but poignant at the Council on Aging yesterday. Do we have any walk-ins or Zoom-ins? None, so we'll go right to the report of the town administrator.
Morning, thank you. Let's start with probably the most important thing. It's now after Memorial Day, so beach stickers are required on all town beaches. So if you're gonna be at the beach tomorrow, the next couple of days, please make sure you have your sticker, as the police will be out checking. DPW updates. Now again, with past Memorial Day, I'll return to updating the board and the residents on our reservoir and our water usage. Jack Factory Pond is +1, the reservoir is +1.5 inches. Rainfall is 0.02 inches measured at the treatment plant. Demand for the last week was 1.438 million gallons per day. We want to remind residents that annual water restrictions went into effect May 1st. Between May 1st and September 30th, all outdoor watering must occur before 9 a.m. and after 5 p.m. Automatic irrigation systems may be used 1 day per week as designated by the water department according to the precinct. You go to the town website for details when you can water. Contractor began paving Hummerock, the water line today. I think he'll finish that up tomorrow. Solar departments on Jericho Road contract replacing manhole frames and covers in anticipation of paving. Minor Beach parking lot will be prepped this week for line striping. That will happen on Friday, weather dependent. The lot will be closed for several hours before work is completed, and that will complete the project at the minor parking lot. People might have noticed out at Egypt Beach, we don't have our spanking new bathroom down there. The board acted proactively, and we go to the bathroom early to make sure we would have it in time for beach season. We've been informed that the bathroom has been delayed in the manufacturing process. It's unclear when it will come in. We do still expect it this summer, but it's unclear at this point. So that is why you will see porta potties down there until the new bathroom comes in. Scituate Public Schools will be having a multi-hazard evacuation drill for the Jenkins School on Monday, June 8th at 2 p.m. This is a practice drill, and the school campus will be closed for 45 to 60 minutes. All school families will be notified about specific times ahead of the event. They did the Cushing School and the Hadley School this morning. Scituate community will have a free shredding day on Saturday, June 13th from 9 to 12 p.m. at Scituate Town Hall. This is sponsored by George Jamison of Caldwell Bank and Realty for the second year in a row. You can shred all your personal and confidential documents in the Iron Mountain government-compliant mobile shredding truck. The event is free for residents. Businesses will pay a small fee, although they are asking that you give a small donation of cash or checks to the Scituate Food Pantry if you use their shredding services. The gazebo platform for the summer is in. It's the little square platform down there. I asked Cam this morning, I said it looks a little small. He said he checked with the bands, and the bands told him that was the size they needed. So it should be good for the summer. The bids are out on the new gazebo. All those come in when they come to. Town election is June 6th at the Scituate High School gym. Poll hours are 8 to 6. Sample ballot has been posted to the website of the town clerk's page. Absentee and vote by mail ballots are now available for mailing or voting in the town clerk's office if you're unable to vote in person on election day. The last day to register to vote, if you're not already registered, is tomorrow, Wednesday, May 27th by 5 p.m. in the town clerk's office or online at voteinma.com. The deadline to request a mail ballot is June 1st. Another update, the Mordecai Lincoln Caretaker RFP is available on the website. Proposals are due June 15th at 11 a.m. There's an optional walk through the property this Thursday, May 28th at 11 a.m. It's really what I have for today with a long agenda, and I'll turn it back to the board.
Question?
I have one question about the shredding.
Yep.
Have you seen how this operation works?
Yeah,
you actually have to stand there and push things into the shredder, or do you just put it into a big barrel and block?
You can give it to them and they shred it. They have a big truck, you just give it to them and they take it and shred it.
So it's fairly convenient for somebody.
Very convenient, very secure.
Safe. Very safe, yes.
I have one question, because it's beach parking. Have we gotten a response on our ticketing, the $150 from the state?
That would be my question.
Beat you to it. We're all, I'm
Yeah.
guessing we have not got, have we got an answer? No?
I'm on the phone with Senator O'Connor. Senate Council says the Scituate parking is drawn correctly and let the Senate clerk know.
It has done one, no, let the clerk.
The clerk knows it's been held up in third reading by Senate Council to determine if it was correctly worded for November, December, January, February, March, April, May.
They read
7
one
months.
word every other day.
So
I think they read one letter every other.
hopefully that means it'll get out of the Senate next week or so, and then we can have Kenny work out into the House.
Oh, so then it has to go up to the house.
Back to the Senate, and then it's done.
God.
And then it's-
So it's gonna be what, 5 more years? Do we think we're gonna, it's been like 2 years to raise our rates
We
from
passed it.
$50.
We passed it last year at town meeting, it was filed shortly thereafter. Again, it went to committee, committee sent it to the Senate, it went to Senate, second reading, which is when it goes to the Senate, that's the second reading, in November. And it's been in the Senate ever since.
It's like a master class in inefficiency.
In Senator O'Connor's defense, nothing has moved in the Senate.
Very
Nothing.
busy people.
Yeah.
So, I'm hoping next couple of weeks it'll be done, but it does not have an emergency preamble, so it takes 30 days to go into effect. Once it passes, it'll have to come back to you to actually set the fine. It's up to $150, you have to actually set the fine.
Oh, right.
We'll
Okay,
be able to do that.
so it won't be this year. I guess the short
Yeah,
answer
tail
for
end of the
the
summer.
public is it won't be this year. Or this beach season.
So if anyone's confused what we're talking about, last year, we tried to raise the penalties, parking fees at the beaches, penalty fee, up to
Parking without a sticker.
It was $50, because in 1992, that was,
A lot of money.
$50 was different from here.
I
We
didn't-
tried to raise it.
An out-of-town sticker is $350, parking ticket's $50, so a lot of out-of-town residents do the math. I gotta get 6 tickets before it equals.
And to do that, we have to go to the state legislature for approval, and it's been over a year, and they refused, they haven't done it.
Mr. Chair, I would suggest that once we get this approved, we should then go for another increase. Submit for
For 10 years from now?
increase.
All right, just to feel that context.
He texted me about an hour ago.
Okay.
Almost at the- All right. Very good. All right. First on the agenda, temporary expansion of hours, Split Rock. Erin,
She's online.
online, all right, oh yeah.
Hello, hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you all?
Good. Yeah, so just give us a little background on what we're trying to do here. I know these are just
Yeah,
some
so
temporary hours, so yeah.
yep, so we did this last year. And it's just really just an extension of our liquor license hours into the morning time frame. So we'd open around 10 o'clock on those 2 days that we requested in June, which is the 13th and the 14th. I'm sorry. Guys, I'm sorry, I had kids in the background. And basically the idea would be to offer a variety of different kind of brunch items and waffles and different things, along with our normal selection of beverages and regular food menu.
Excellent. All right. Questions?
And you, Erin, you did this last year. How was the event attended last year?
Yeah, it was really good. It was really, really beautiful weather. So we had that going for us. And it was very low key. We had some acoustic music playing and it was really nice. So yeah, it was great. We'd love to do it again.
Thank you.
This is a 2-hour difference.
Aaron, just for the public, for clarity, it's in front of us, but this is a one weekend event, so one time.
Yes, correct. Yes, just a one time
days.
one off. Exactly. Yeah.
No more? Take a motion.
Move to approve the expansion of hours of operation for Scituate Split Rock Social Incorporated DBA Scituate Split Rock, opening at 10 a.m. on Saturday, June 13, and Sunday, June 14, 2026.
Mr. Gilmore, seconded by Harrison. All in favor?
Aye.
It is unanimous. All right, well, good luck with the event.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks so much. Bye, everyone.
Just like it too.
It's like it. All right. This is always wonderful. We have a land donation. Jennifer Smith, and we have Frank, come on up. Great.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Good.
You probably have a better description, but we have two different parcels being donated to different people. One is on Tilden Road. It's about 1.5 acres. It's behind where two new homes have been built on Tilden Road. And it abuts a couple other properties that are town owned. It's parcel E. It's all wetland, but untouched.
So parcel E is already owned by the town, right?
No,
And aren't we getting C and D?
no, it's parcel E being
Okay.
donated.
So,
That's the next one.
yeah,
We own over to the
Okay,
right and
sorry.
above it.
so these were a couple of new houses that went up and there was some extra land behind these that didn't need to go with this. It's primarily wetland, but the town has a piece of property already that's off of
Shadwell?
Shadwell, I think. So it just sort of joins some other small open space. It's not a huge piece of property, but from our viewpoint, it's habitat and it's water. It's just a good piece to add to that.
That's
To our-
contiguous.
It's contiguous to a couple other small pieces. It's good for recharge and it's good for habitat. And
My perspective, it's wonderful. I think it's a lovely donation. I guess I have two questions. One is more just technical for my purposes. I should probably know this, I don't remember. Once this plot is donated, does it stay the currently lot lined parcel sort of in perpetuity, separate from the other contiguous pieces, or do we tend to lump them together and rezone them, recategorize them as one larger piece?
Usually assessors will put what's called a Z on the map, which means they're contiguous parcels in the same ownership.
And then the second question is, do we know, was there a reason particularly why parcel E, C, D didn't simply get marketed and, built as part of a parcel that has conservation land on it? I'm just curious. Thank you for the donation.
no, I think with the time that the project was presented to the commission, we looked at it and the applicant said, I have this extra land. I don't need to put this with the buildings. And would that be something that the commission would like to protect?
Full donation.
It'll be in conservation land forever, right?
Unless they change some rules someday. The difference between this property and property that we purchase with community preservation funds, when we buy land with community preservation funds, we're also getting money that we work with the state. And then we have what we call a CR holder, conservation restriction holder. So they're held in a little different entity. There's several different types of parcels. There's a town forest, which technically the select board oversee. There's land that the town owns that may be under the water department or other departments. If we, the Conservation Commission, have it, to take it out of conservation, I believe it requires some sort of act. So,
Requires a 2/3 vote at town meeting, requires a 9/10 vote of the legislature. The Executive Office of Environmental Affairs, whatever they call it now, requires that you, for every acre you take out, you put an acre back in someplace else.
So it's even slower than parking tickets.
Way slower than
Yeah.
parking.
Right.
but it's not quite the same as land that we would get through CPC.
Thank you.
Or do we do them both together?
We can do them separately, I have them here separately.
I think you have to read them separately.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to read the motions.
And then,
I like.
Oh, you want to?
do you want the other one too? So, yeah, Wheeler,
Reader's Digest, because I know this is even.
Yeah, so the several parcels at the end of Wheeler Ave and Hamilton Ave. Again, undeveloped, it's in a flood area, it's in a coastal area. So that whole section that's in yellow on both sides of the cul-de-sac, and then the other parcel behind it going away from the pond also. So this is all flood and habitat as well, and a coastal area. And it butts town property as you go towards the beach.
Gives us good access to,
Very good access, yes.
we already have a drainage easement on it, but
Yes.
does give us access with you just running the pond.
the other good part about the town owning these parcels is if there's an expansion by an abutter, which we're dealing with right now, it belongs to us, and then we can push back to protect it. If that's owned privately, there's an opportunity maybe for someone, even though it's restricted, it's harder for us to protect that. It belongs to the town. In that case, because of the wetlands and whatnot, it's doubtful that we say no one could build on it, but it's obviously unknown.
My only question is, this is again, more curiosity and technicality than anything, but if that's all wetland that's non-buildable and is conservation, or going to be conservation land, how do we have a cul-de-sac turnaround point built inside it?
Because it went in before
Well, it's
wetland
in-
protection.
It's wonderful, and I appreciate it.
Motions? Yeah. You have to bear with me because.
I can do, you want me to do the second one, you do the first one?
Yeah,
Yeah, these are kind of
teed up
weird
for the
ones.
Oh,
second.
all
all
right,
right.
let's get up, all right.
Teed up for the second,
Oh,
yeah.
Mr. Mojo there.
We, the undersigned, representing a majority of the members of the select board of the town of Scituate in accordance with Mass General Legislature, Chapter 40, Section 8C, do hereby approve the acceptance of the town of Scituate Conservation Commission of a gift of land from Kimberly Richards and Winifred Smith included in this deed.
Second.
Mr. Gilmore, seconded, by Nico.
Page 5, Jimmy.
All in favor, you do two or just do one? We'll do this first one.
We'll do
All in
this one
favor?
right.
Yeah.
Aye, it's unanimous.
Next motion, we, the undersigned, representing the majority of the members of the select board of the town of Scituate in accordance with Mass General Legislation, Chapter 40, Section 8C, do hereby approve the acceptance by the town of Scituate Conservation Commission of a gift of land from Stephen Bjorklund, included in this deed.
Second.
Mr. Gilmore, seconded by Harrison, all in favor?
Aye.
It is unanimous.
Thank you all for that.
And good news is I just saw an email, we went on record that we now own 0 Clark Road and 0 Booth Hill, which was purchased with CPC funds, so,
Nice.
yeah. We're excited. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice evening.
Nancy.
Look at all the fun stuff,
Land-
donations.
And now mulching and weeding.
So as the board is aware, in March, due to the escalating costs from the conflict that is going on overseas, we did put on a spending freeze and hiring freeze. So what you need for operational costs, okay. Nice to have, not so much. So the mulching and freshening up of the Town hall front lawn is a nice to have. Beautification normally outsources it. They came with their proposal. I brought it to Jim, wasn't approved. Northern Oak Landscape, who is normally the vendor that does the work, donated the mulch and gave us a fresh look for town hall, and beautification spruced us up with some flowers. So we look lovely outside, and it was very generous of Northern Oak to give us the mulch even without us paying for the mulch. And spread it
That's
themselves.
Very generous.
Northern
Thank
Oak,
you. Thank you.
wonderful local business over on Clap Road, nice donation. Northern Oak. Well, it was very.
They're very generous to the town.
Very, they are.
They are.
Let them know.
We should post some pictures.
Northern Oak, yeah.
Yeah, what, oh,
Does.
local business.
That's right.
Northern Oak? Yeah.
What? Northern Oak Landscaping Incorporated.
That's gonna help their SEO later with that transcript.
I'm ready to make a
All right, let's make the motion.
regarding Northern Oak Landscaping Incorporated. Move that the select board accept landscaping services at Town Hall from Northern Oak Landscaping Incorporated.
Second.
Ms. Gilmore, second by Schlegel, all in favor? Aye, it is unanimous.
Thank you. I'll see you a little later in the meeting.
Gratitude. Thank you, Northern Oak. Yes.
Thank you, Northern Oak. Definitely.
All right, now we're moving on to interviews, boards and committees. Goodness. All right, what's up? Sorry, do you know if we have anyone
I think everybody's here.
gonna be here? Okay. All right, we can.
Many people in the audience.
I love
About to hear about Northern Oak Landscaping.
Oh my gosh, is there a chart?
Yeah, in your
Let's
packet, in
start.
your packet, there's a chart.
All right, all right.
Very helpful, chart, it's very helpful today. And yeah, I'm getting it together.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right.
There you
All right. So, I'm gonna take these out of order a little bit.
Okay.
Sorry. So we're gonna start with the two coastal advisory committee folks. So is Mika and Megan?
Yep.
All right, come on. Oh. Both of you, come on up at the same time. Look at that. I'd like to combine everybody. Mika, Mike.
Mike,
Micah.
Yep.
Sorry.
no problem.
All right. We usually have a couple of kind of standard questions, but they're pretty, what you expect. And this will go for everybody, and then we'll kind of go around. Well, number one, thank you, everyone. Step up. The fact we have so many folks that want to volunteer is amazing, so thank you. So it's really kind of like, why now? Is there any, and then two, is there anything about this committee that really kind of interests you and kind of the reason that we're doing this? So I'll start with those two. The now, like why all of a sudden, and also what drew you in, and we'll get up. So whoever.
Would you like to?
Sure. All right. Good evening. So I grew up in Scituate. I walked to Hatherley School, went to Gates, went to Scituate High School, and then moved away for a long time. And now I'm back. And so why now is because I'm back. And I have this unique perspective of, well, sorry, my name is Megan Scott, by the way. And I have had a nonlinear path through humanitarian disaster response work. For example, Hurricane Sandy in Staten Island, overseas, tornadoes, floods, typhoons. And so I think that gives me a unique perspective to bring here, having worked right after the crisis, the emergency happens. After the floodwaters recede, I went in when it was safe to do so. And essentially did a team needs assessment with the nonprofit I worked for and said, what's going on in the community? How can we work together to provide equitable, culturally appropriate, locally informed response efforts? And so that has always been a thread of my career. And then when I saw this, and personally and professionally, being of service, and when I saw this, the Coastal Advisory Commission opportunity popped up, I said, why not? I want to be a part of the community again. And if I can bring this expertise and passion to the table, why not? Somebody on the commission mentioned it was something that was coming up, and so piqued my interest, and so here we are. So I kind of probably spoke to both questions at once. I enjoy working across stakeholders, with communities, with people. You know, the climate disasters, crisis are so complex, and so I think it takes multiple perspectives to think about the complexity of these issues at hand, thinking long-term versus what's coming right down the pipeline. So yeah, it would be an honor to support and serve and be a part of the commission. Yeah.
Great. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Michael Wells. I've been a resident of Scituate for the last 6 years. We moved here during the pandemic. And my daughter, who was born, who's 6 now, and then a couple of years later, my son, who's 3, is in preschool. She's at Cushing. Yeah, when I saw the opening for the Coastal Advisory Committee, you know, I thought it would be interesting. Inland resident, definitely fit that bill, living over in the West End. And that's all that kind of interested me at the beginning, was getting more involved with the community, being able to give a little bit back, just a lot of civic minded, like, you know, propensity to it. And then when I started looking into the committee a little bit more, I realized how well it aligned with, you know, my professional background, which is in governance, risk and compliance, and critical infrastructure. So I've worked internally within GRC for the last 15 years, and really realized how, you know, assessing risks, vulnerabilities within a town. I do it for a cybersecurity kind of lens. I don't have a background in coastal engineering, but the more that I was looking at it, I really realized how well that, you know, the things that I do day to day would align with the responsibilities of the committee.
So I saw on your resume a master's in eco-psychology.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what I assume it is?
What do you
How would
think?
you describe eco-psychology?
Yeah, I get that question often. And I explain it. It's kind of like environmental psychology. It's non-clinical. Essentially, it's these ideas that have happened for so long, and then somebody in the 90s put a term to it. We as humans are not separate from the environment, from the land. Our built environments impact our behavior. What we take in impacts our behavior, but we are not separate. And so when we think about even like coastal issues, climate issues, we have to realize that we are part of the interconnected system. That, you know, some people think it's woo-woo, eco-psychology. Like, of course, but I'm not like a rock. I'm not a tree. Yeah, but we depend on the natural environment for our health, for public health, for sanity, for wellness, for so many things. And so it's very interdisciplinary. And on a personal note, I am seeking, I went to school for my master's, and it's a bit of a challenging time to find the professional job in that, given the current state of the world as well. But I think we need to in our, expand our horizons to think about what is like, how do I live? What is sustainable? How am I resilient? Our personal resiliency depends on, planetary resiliency and resilient communities.
I guess my question would be to both of you. Unfortunately, we only have one opening on this committee and we have 2 great applicants. Would you guys be open to potentially looking at a different committee, or do you have your heart set on this one?
Yeah, like I mentioned, I didn't kind of set out for the Coastal Advisory Committee, but looking into it more, also being that inland resident, our coast is really the lifeblood of the town. It affects every part of the town, commerce, people come to the town because of the coast. It is something that definitely interested me, and like I said, the alignment with my professional career. I definitely think I would consider other committees, but I thought I was kind of aligned towards this role.
I'll say I'm open, of course. The Coastal Advisory Committee's the one that spoke to me on the list of openings. I thought that's where I could be of best use based on, an interest as well. But of course, I'm open. It would be great to be part of serving the community, and if there was a different capacity that it needed to go.
Oh, that, I heard everybody, and a lot of the questions that were asked were already mine, so good.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
We have Vincent. Vincent, come on up. Right back to the top. Keep you on your toes. Ariel.
Good evening, I'm good. My name is Vinny Fontaine. I live at 52 Pin Drive. And I'm here for the the Veterans Advisory Council, but I first have to thank the town of Scituate. In 2012, I was on the advisory council for the veterans, and it started me on this path of helping veterans. So I'm now the Assistant Director of Veteran Services for Barnstable County. And I've been working with veterans for since 2012. So the town actually sent me.
Yeah.
And
Take the vote now.
And I do work with the current veterans officer in this town. He does a great job. He picked up the job right away. He's done great work. Talking with him, he asked me if I was interested in coming back to the council. And I said I would. I mean, it's important. I make sure the veterans are taken care of. So.
Were you there and then not there? Were you attending meetings and then?
Yeah, I was attending meetings,
Yeah.
and then somebody said, "Well, you're not on the council," and I actually do come from. I work on the Cape, so I come back on the Cape. So a couple of those days. So
You can still attend.
Someone gave you bad.
Roping you back in.
Yeah.
I mean, we have two, right? Yeah, we have
2 openings.
This is wonderful. Well, that's 14 years now. Help, it's unbelievable. So thank you so much. We need my basic people, and I feel pretty good how to vote. Go later, but any other questions, concerns?
This is great for your service.
thank you.
Thank you very much. Well said. Thank you. All right, John. I'm gonna say this person's name wrong, I think. So how do I say Robotham? John Robotham? Robotham. No?
I butchered it so poorly, now I
No, John.
No one named Joe.
No, all right. So then we'll go to Danielle Robertson, Harbor Cultural Districts. L'Oreal.
I did not realize that this interview was so formal. I would not have worn jeans. I'm sorry. Apologies.
This day, how many people behind this?
Hold on.
I'm a photographer. What can I say?
So, why? So tell me, this is such a fun, this is kind of a fun committee, let's be honest.
Yeah.
A lot of fun things you can do. So, a little bit about yourself and kind of why now?
Sure. I'm Danielle Robertson. I live in Scituate. I grew up in Scituate. I did leave the day after I graduated in '93 from Scituate High School, and I was gone for quite a while. Came back 10 years ago with my kids and wanted to raise my kids here. But I was able to see the world and live in some really cool places and have some very cool jobs. And coming back to Scituate, I saw that it's changed a bit since I grew up here. But yeah, I'm a professional photographer and I have background in graphic design and art direction. Worked in publishing, I've worked in advertising, and the past 12 years, I've been just a photographer. But I kind of combined both careers for a while there. I was looking for a studio space for several years, and it had to be in Scituate. Took me a while to find a space, but I finally found one last year, and I've now been there. This week marks 1 year, actually. Yeah, in Scituate Harbor. So I am behind Sea Salt Mercantile, between Sam's and Sea Salt Mercantile on the Mill Wharf side. Ray's been there.
Hi.
Yeah, well, so I was absolutely blown away when I found the space and I realized I could kind of afford it with a loan. And I wanted to take the opportunity to use the space to do things not just for my business, not just as a photography studio, but to also give back to the community. And I haven't been able to stop doing things for the community since I opened the space. I've had multiple local artists events, a lot of initiatives with through my relationship with the art teacher at Scituate High School. I've had group community art projects with high schoolers. I hosted a poetry slam there. I'm very active and already kind of doing a lot of these things. I was really excited because I was in my space and I was able to prepare, and I hosted a big event for the Art Walk, which is part of the Harbor Cultural District. And I've had Marie Flaherty and Patrice May both suggest that I get on board. So, yeah.
They recruited.
They kind of recruited, yeah.
Russell, welcome to questions.
No questions.
Okay.
Board of Vote.
Said you've been able to kind of experience international living and culture with your favorite non-Scituate location.
They were all really different. I lived in London, and I guess that was my biggest growth because I had just gotten married and my husband is from England. And yeah, it was like a whole new life. And I was very excited. And I had some really, really cool jobs. Yeah.
Hang on.
I was the art director for, he was Prince Charles. Yeah, that was one of my jobs.
Really?
Yeah. I know. I know.
By the way, me and
And I wouldn't have brought that up, but this is so formal. It's kind of reminding me of when I had lunch. And yeah, This is reminding me of the Prince Charles situation. Yeah.
Fully.
We get that a lot. People
Oh,
say
yeah.
things.
Yeah. Yeah, London was amazing. Yeah, but also I lived in Miami and that was really fun too. So,
Great addition to the harbor and would be a great asset to this council or commission or.
Nice.
I do have a question for you and I don't know, I'm actually curious, like one of the things that I would love to do, and I think it's part of why I'm being recruited, is to actually get more visibility for the Harbor Cultural District, even online. There's not much online. You know, take imagery, graphic design, using kind of my background to help build that. And even, you know, I hand drew a map for no good reason a couple weeks ago for the Mother's Day thing. Did you see it? It was just, I felt compelled to do it. I was a harbor rat. I grew up in the harbor and I had always wanted to draw a map. So I hand drew a map of the harbor. But anyway, I wanted to kind of do stuff like that, even create a map for the new round of harbor rats. There are harbor rats. They sit outside my studio, just on the steps. These kids who are just looking for, they're looking for something to do. Yeah. Yeah.
No, so there's certainly through, this is the avenue to do that. To get
I think so, right? Yeah, I was just curious because there's the Scituate Cultural Council and then the Harbor Cultural Committee? District Committee, okay. And do they meet together? Do you know how, like, I was curious about that relationship and how they inform each other?
Love
or-
if you encourage those kind of people.
Okay, all right.
I think you've got some great ideas and some great opportunity for challenge. Go for it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Get a chance, you want to bring Charles over for business.
Yes, sir.
I know.
I think for us, recruited to have a state visit.
Yeah, there you go.
I feel like he's just here. I don't think he's coming back.
I do have one last question or request. Am I able to leave?
Of course.
Oh, yeah, we're not.
My son is being given a scholarship at the high school.
And anyone else who's in here,
Go take pictures.
I know. Thank you. Thank you.
you really, anyone that interviewed, we're talking like 2 hours, you don't have to sit here. We'll let you know.
Yes. Have a nice evening.
So do not worry. All right, Andreas. Okay, all right, so now we have our 3 folks for the Council on Aging. Michael, John, and Mary. Come on up, everybody. Come on up.
I may beg your permission to stand in place when I speak, if I could.
Yeah, should be able to hear, yeah, that's fine, yeah, that's fine, of course. So we'll do the same 3 questions. Because I should have said, tell me about yourself. So tell me about yourself, why now? And then if there's anything in particular.
Did you ever work for King Charles?
And if you were,
Adding a question.
if you
Lead
were
with that.
royalty. No, just kidding, but we'll let you
go first.
Sure, we'll let you go
Okay,
first.
my name is John Petty. My wife and I have resided in Scituate since 1965. We have been active in many committees. I was basically a founder and initial treasurer of the Scituate Soccer Club in the 1970s. I have served as a Naval Academy information officer for both Bingham and Scituate. I was a high school chemistry teacher for 37 years, primarily in Hingham. And basically, I am very interested in supporting the Scituate Senior Center, which I consider to be an outstanding organization, an outstanding institution. I've been in a number of senior centers on the South Shore, and it is by far the best, the most participants, and the most active of any that I have seen. So I consider my primary role is that of supporting the Scituate Senior Center. I think that's probably pretty much. Well, I was also on the Scituate Town Democratic Committee, and I served on a number of educational committees in the town. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
In front of my wife now.
Yes.
That's my better half of 60, for almost 64 years. As John said, we have been living in Scituate for 61 years. Our 3 children went all through the Scituate Public Schools. I also was a teacher in Scituate until I retired in 2004. I had many different roles. I was the Title I director of the preschool at the high school. I also started a reading and math tutorial program under Title I. I wrote the grants, attended many conferences all over Massachusetts. Even I was sent to a national conference in Kentucky. I taught the preschool. I taught preschool through grade 6. I ended up at Cushing School as a reading and language arts specialist for my last 14 years of working in Scituate. I've worked at almost every department. While I have had many roles in Scituate, principals, superintendents, maintenance, dietitians, probably just about everyone. I have been involved in the senior center for many years. I got my inspiration from my father, who started the first senior center in Belmont, Mass. Both John and I were brought up in Belmont. It was something that was very needed. We had 3 turns, 3 times it came up to the town. Twice it was voted down. And the last time I said, if we don't get it this time, I probably will never get there because I'll be too old to go. It is one of the most publicized, and people come from all over to come to the senior center. I've worked with the director. I've worked with everyone at the senior center, proposing ideas of things that might be good to start. John and I attend the senior center all the time, and we would like very much in our late years to possibly be in some role to help them, to continue to help them. Do you have any questions?
Well, we'll get to that.
All right.
Then we'll go questions.
Michael Sauter, 20 years, something like that in Scituate. 35 years in the States. I'm Swiss born, raised, went to school there. Chemist, moved into pharmaceutical world. They brought me to the States. First New York City, work in New Jersey, and then ultimately came to Boston to work, but lived always on the South Shore. Now kids are getting older. Some of them are, I have 4 kids, triplets. 2 of them are at Scituate High with Miss Weigel's son. They played football together. Mine stopped. They were a little skinny and small. Actually helped coach a little bit. Not that I know how to throw a football, but since my kids were always on the trouble side, I was dealing with the trouble kids on the side. Anyway, they're getting a little more independent and working from home all the time. I figured it's starting time to give back and do something. I'm getting up there. Next year is a big birthday, I think. Yeah. I started getting involved with the senior center only last year. Went to a couple events, know some of the staff, and when I came up, thought that would be a cool committee to. My mother's 85, still lives in Switzerland, but talk with her every day, and I see how I can help, where I can help, what I can connect with when she struggles with something or not. But I had other committees on the list too. I'm open to help. If there's only 2, I don't know how many seats there are.
Yeah. So I appreciate that. I mean, there's technically 1 open, but
Yeah.
There's also 3 associate. And those 3 are all open, the 3 associate, just to double check. Okay, so the associates are non-voting, but you're still participating in I mean, not many cutthroat, votes.
Yeah.
Let's be.
Went through the agenda, so I added the minutes, it's,
Yeah, it's not like this is.
Yeah.
Right, so you still being part of the conversation is critically important, so I didn't wanna, downplay it, but I'll open up the questions.
Well, I think that, I appreciate the way you handle that, but there is 1 voting position and then 3 non-voting positions. Would anybody object to being in either position? I guess it's a legitimate question to ask.
That's true, yeah. Would anyone
Of all 3 of you, does it really matter? Because you're there to influence.
I'm sure there's a rotation happening with
Time-
people
time-
moving out and associates move in.
Time changes.
Yeah, I mean, I liaise to the council on aging and I'm not great at getting to those meetings, but I don't remember there ever being a vote. So it's a great discussion, so your voice would still be heard.
Because I like all 3 of you. I'll just say that right up front. Because you all bring something quite unique. And that's what makes our senior center so exciting and energized, is the variety of people. I know a lot of them over there, friends of mine, and everybody comes from so many different walks of life. That's what really makes it tick and go crazy. So I have no more questions, as long as nobody minds, who's got the vote, who doesn't. Sometimes voting's not the best thing to do.
So, and I agree, I think that you all bring something to the table. My question would be that, we are currently starting the process of looking at someone to replace Linda, who is planning to retire from the seniors from the council on aging. So as we look at that transition, is there anything in particular that you see as an opportunity or as a value that you hold importantly in yourself that you'd like to see in the next director of the senior center?
I've worked with Linda since she came to the senior center. We had just moved to the harbor and it was right within walking distance. And so I saw how the whole center evolved, and seeing 2 of them already go down at the town meeting, I said to myself, when we get to the point that we are looking for the 3rd time, and as I already said, maybe I wouldn't be able to be around to enjoy any of it, I started to work with the people that were there, and they had a wonderful committee that I was on that pushed and pushed and pushed, and finally it went through. Now it's used by everybody in town, and and that was one of the questions beforehand that came up before boards, that it was turned down, that it was really only just for a certain group in town. And I think everybody in town knows now it's for everyone. No matter what age you are, sometime you're going to end up going to the senior center.
No, I think, I've heard, I know, I met Linda, so I definitely know. I think there's, like you said, both of you said, I agree fully. It's probably one of the best, if not the best, on the South Shore, and one of the biggest one and most active.
They come
I
from
know
every town.
Yeah, there's a lot of people coming from other towns visiting, and there's some partnership programs too, right, where they cover with all the centers together. I think that's great and fantastic, definitely. I wouldn't, definitely forward looking. What I kind of miss a little bit is hearing, where are we going? What's happening? Yes, everything is great right now and it's working well. And it's probably, I never experienced the old one. I know where it was, but I know, never went there then. But I definitely wouldn't want to kind of miss the train and not continue to grow.
Thank you very much.
Good? Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for stepping up.
Thank you.
Did anybody know, hold on, who knew somebody from the royal family? Anybody?
No,
No one answered.
Fair enough.
We had some people walking that, I don't know if you want to check and see if they're.
Oh, yeah, we, did Andrea Singer? Or
John.
Or John?
Nothing online either. I was.
No, nothing online.
All right, thank you. All right,
We'll touch base with them again. We had some communication issues
Do we have
sometimes.
candidates for all of the other open positions, do you know?
Not every department, we only got a few, but, we can't do everyone in all one night.
No, I was just curious if.
I
you know,
have some,
people-
and I can share those with you. Cameras, I can't remember.
there's some who are still short, right? I think veterans were short one.
Yeah, there's some positions that we advertised for that we didn't get any, no interest.
All right. Kelly, now come on up. We're gonna talk signage for some seals, seal safety. I only know one thing about when I see a seal, I'm not getting in the water.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Did you know
I
that?
don't know that.
Boy.
They're like shark food.
Yeah,
With
they're like-
that, they're shark food, let's say.
Oh. I'm gonna be scared. All right, they're gonna let me know. These are the roads.
Shark.
Yeah, I see a seal, I'm getting out. Right? Am I crazy?
No, you're not. That
Thank
is.
you. I mean, I still might be crazy. All right, I'm sorry.
No worries. So I have with me Lauren Brandcamp and Caroline Gunther from Wayland Dolphin Conservation, and they're going to talk to us about the importance of seal signage, what we can do to help.
Don't worry about the mic.
Okay, cool.
It doesn't really
Okay.
work that well.
Doesn't matter.
This thing worked, it's the big thing.
Okay, great. Yes, hi, I'm Caroline. And we just wanted to give a little bit of background about who WDC is, and then we can go into seal signage stuff. So Whale Dolphin Conservation North America is the leading charity dedicated to the conservation of whales and dolphins. We are based in Plymouth, and we have different programs. We have an education and outreach program. We do a lot of science, collecting data on stranded marine mammals. And then we also do some policy work. We were just down in DC chatting to some staffers about whale things. You can go to the next slide. So Lauren and I make up our marine animal rescue and response team. So we respond to stranded marine mammals, so seals, whales, dolphins, and porpoises from Revere to Plymouth. We are permitted by NOAA, so through the federal government to do so. And we expanded, so starting in 2021 is when our marine animal rescue and response program began. We started responding from Marshfield to Plymouth, and then in 2023, we expanded through Weymouth, and then we just, at the beginning of this year, expanded through Revere. So we're whale and dolphin conservation. Why are we talking to you about seals? As I said, we respond to seals, and they do make up the majority of our hotline calls. So we carry a hotline that we answer 24/7, that the public has access to that number, and they will report any stranded marine mammals to us. That's how we get our reports. The other great thing about seals is that they haul out or come up on land to rest and regulate their body temperature. So it's normal for them to be on land, and that creates a lot of opportunity for human seal interactions because they love to haul out where all the people go. They like our beautiful beaches as well. So, and unfortunately, they also blend in very well to the sand and rocks. People will walk up like right onto them and just have literally no idea that they were there. That guy is blending in pretty well to his surroundings. So if you're not paying attention, you're not looking for it, it's pretty easy to walk up on a seal. So because of this, busy summer beaches create a high risk for human-wildlife interactions. And those human-wildlife interactions are a public safety concern, and they can be prevented through proper signage, or at least we can help try to prevent them a little bit.
So we often come across human interaction cases throughout our response territory. This includes, like I said, people just walking up on seals and not recognizing that they're there, or people being unaware of the dangers of seals. They're wild animals, they're unpredictable. They do have sharp teeth and sharp claws. They also carry zoonotic diseases, which are diseases that are transmissible from humans to animals and vice versa. We also want to keep our pets safe, so we might trust our pets, but again, we can't trust the seals. And then also from a seal safety perspective, the stress from any human-pet interaction can exacerbate any underlying conditions or the reason that they may have come up on land in the first place. Some other considerations for town resources, we get a lot of forwarded calls from police and animal control. So with our hotline number on these signs, it would hopefully alleviate some of the calls going into PD or animal control. And then also for tourists, Scituate has beautiful beaches that bring in people from all around the world. So although residents might know who to call, people who are visiting your beaches may not. So this is our sign. They were designed in collaboration with NOAA. So these are free to us. NOAA prints these for us and sends them to us, so they would be of no cost to the town. They have our hotline number on them at the bottom here, our logo, and then they were a part of NOAA's Share the Shore campaign, so their logo as well. And then just showing people to stay 150 feet away, which is a guideline. But that's what we like to see best. And then a cute picture of a little gray seal weanling with all his rolls. So this is one of the sizes. So these are some examples of other signs posted. You can see there are a lot of different sizes and they're in a lot of different places. They do have pre-drilled holes on the sides. And then the smaller ones have the pre-drilled hole in the center here, as you can see. So yeah, we have them in a few different sizes. This is the 1.5 by 2 size. And then there's one that's a bit smaller, which is 1 by 1.5, and then one that's pretty big, which is 2 by 3. So we're proposing the signs be posted at following beaches: Hummerock, Peggotty, North Scituate, the Town Marina, and Egypt Beach. We did some looking at our numbers, and those were where we saw the highest numbers of seal like reports. Other than the Town Marina is just people are going to their boats there. So if they're seeing any entangled animals in the water when they're boating, then they'll call us as well. And they're preferable to be in places with lots of foot traffic, so entrances to beaches or parking lots, things like that. So this is proposed location of a sign on Hummerock Beach at the Marshfield Ave entrance. At Peggotty Beach at the main entrance. And then North Scituate at the entrance by the post office, and then also the entrance by the Minot Beach House. And then the Town Marina / Pole Parkway lot. And then Egypt Beach, again, just that main entrance. And that is all. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, we'll see this at Hummerock, so the time I see it. I do see them around all the time.
I see.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, I think
it's great.
good for education. Are we limited on the number of signs? Because we do have 2 town marinas, and I would also think possibly Jericho Road boat ramp, but if you're going by people getting in their boats,
yeah,
they may see. Those are 2 other locations
That's
that
yeah.
a lot of people
Places
get in
the
there. We have the best boat ramp on the whole South Shore, so.
Okay.
It's true.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to reach out to Noah to get more signs printed. But I don't know if that will be a
No, it's
problem.
great stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
If that's your criteria, I would put those to yeah.
What size do you think is appropriate?
I'll leave it up to the voters.
Yeah, it's whatever's gonna fit, I mean,
Okay.
almost all those spots have.
Pretty congested, I mean, it looked like the Peggy, sign area was pretty congested already, so maybe they like a smaller one at Peggy and.
Yeah.
Cause I think there's something above that notice, right? Where would you even put that?
Yeah.
But I think it's important to have it, cause I walk in Egypt all the time and I've probably seen 3 or 4 seals and you don't know what to do, cause you don't know if they're alive or dead or what's going on at first, and then, you're like, who do you call? So, yeah, thank you.
I agree with Freya's comment about, sign conglomeration. The education piece is a no-brainer to me. I think we live in a coastal town in the Atlantic Ocean. The seals are out there. They do come on the beaches. I've seen them, people see them. And I know, we're in the middle of a news cycle about hantavirus coming from animals on a cruise ship. Shouldn't be surprising to the public that animals can cause risk, but they're cute, so that becomes a problem. And so I'm all in favor of that. The one concern I have from the board perspective is it's one thing to talk about a steel sign, and then we talk about a dog sign, and then we talk about another sign, and and then all of a sudden you have 15 signs, and nobody reads them because there's too many signs. So I'm not one to worry too much about precedent when it's a good idea. I just want to make sure that if we're going to put signs out at all those locations, that we just think through, and I agree, you guys understand and have done many more sign placements than I have. I just want to make sure we think through, are there differences in between all those locations that might come into consideration of if we're putting one sign at Egypt Beach in addition to one sign that's already historical, versus if we're putting a 9th sign in there and or making it look like, Marshfield Center all of a sudden. So I just want to think through that before we.
I have a motion. I think we're ready to do the motion.
I'm not against the signage. I just want to think through, what them factor seals, is it?
Mr. Chairman, the fact is that anybody that comes to want to put a sign on a town posting has to come before us before they do it. That's our job. This is a great opportunity to invite the populace and to protect the wildlife. So I'm in favor of it.
Yeah, and I take your point, and I think we can talk to the beach commission and other.
There's a way to do it.
Yeah, to make sure that, no, with, for this is so, it's good educational.
And those signs are free, which is great, and
Right.
they're not, this isn't bus to say, so I'm in
Yeah.
favor. I just want to make sure.
No, it's
It doesn't become a slippery slope of too many signs everywhere.
that song, 70 song.
Why is that running through my head?
I know.
Thank you for your.
3 of us in this room know that song.
What's the song?
Signs.
Oh, I'm for it.
Sign everywhere.
Yeah.
Sign.
All right.
Walking up the scenery with that.
Yes.
Where's
Motion,
your
yeah,
motion?
We'll take the motion before we start
Where's the
saying,
motion?
no, it's a good point, and we will cross that.
That's
bridge.
why we have to do our agenda.
Yeah.
Motion. Move to approve the seal safety signage for Egypt, Minot, Peggy, and Hum Rock beaches in Town Arena as a start,
And boat ramp.
and the Jericho boat ramp.
Moved by Mr. Gilmore, seconded by Dr. Anasenko. All in favor?
Aye.
It is unanimous. Well
Thank
done.
you so much.
Yeah. I want to put a seal on our.
No, it's so cute.
It is a very cute seal. All right.
All right, do we have to look at our updated resolution?
Yeah.
Because it's in
All
the.
right, well, thank you. Corey is up, I think. What's up, Corey? All right, so we have 2. Again, these are just updates. No vote associated with these. We're getting updates. The first Cole Parkway, And Pier 44. For you, Paul.
Allison is online.
Awesome. All right. Okay.
Hi.
How are you?
Well, thank you. We have some exciting news to share about the Parkway and Scituate Harbor study that we've been working on. And Allie Veronelli from Collins Engineers is here to walk you through some of that information. We just had our most recent Cole Parkway Redevelopment Committee meeting last week, so they voted to move forward with conceptual alternative number 1 with some changes, and she'll kind of walk you through that that site plan right now. So I'm just going to hand it over to Allie to share a screen.
Thank you, Allie.
Hi, everyone. Can you see and hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Well, good to see you all again. As Corey said, I'm Allie Varinelli. I am a project manager at Collins Engineers. And we've been working with the Cole Parkway Redevelopment Committee, with Corey and with, some of our project partners to really evaluate the coastal resilience of not only Cole Parkway, but also some of the other downtown areas of Scituate Harbor. So, I know we met with you all before, so excited to kind of share some of the more recent progress that we've been making. I think the last time we met was in October of last year, so it's been a few months. And I figured I'd just kind of touch on some of the updates since that last meeting, and then we can dive into some of the progress that we've been making. So the first thing, as Corey had mentioned, is the CPRC, Cole Parkway Redevelopment Committee, had met recently and elected to, or they voted on a preferred conceptual alternative. The last time we met, I know I had shared several different conceptual alternatives for different strategies of how we can improve the resilience, specifically at Cole Parkway. So the CPRC had met and they selected one of those options to really progress through the design for future phases. So we'll touch on that tonight. And then in addition to that project, one of the issues that we really ran into during the modeling effort of Cole Parkway was, we had found out that if we were to implement a flood protection structure just around the perimeter of only Cole Parkway, we'd run into issues with the elevations of the topography to the north and the south of our project site. Those areas are just so low that what ends up happening is water kind of floods in from Cole Parkway around the northern and eastern and western sides. So we'd really need to implement a larger, more robust flood protection structure across a longer span of shoreline. And that's really what we've been evaluating as part of the flood damage reduction project, which is looking really at the Scituate Harbor Business District. And then the last thing we wanted to talk about is just some different funding opportunities that Corey's really been running point on trying to get in place so that we can continue to progress the design and keep working towards improving the coastal resilience here. So I figured it might be helpful just for a visual to kind of see how the limits of our projects have really expanded over time. Originally we had looked at just Cole Parkway, as I had said previously. That was kind of the study area, and our hope was that if we were to construct a flood barrier along the shoreline of that parcel, kind of from the harbor master's office and the Coast Guard building all the way down towards the Front Street entrance near Scituate Brook. The hope was that if we constructed a flood barrier along this stretch of shoreline, that we would be able to protect all of downtown Scituate. That proved not to be the case. So Corey, with the help of FEMA, had brought us on board to evaluate a much larger area, which is shown in red. And basically what we're doing here is we're evaluating the different elevations and the existing waterfront infrastructure along Mill Wharf, along Old Dock Street, all the way up to the town pier, as well as kind of the intersection of Edward Foster Road and Front Street down in the southern end of the site. Really looking at those areas to understand, if we were to implement a much larger, widespread flood protection structure, what that might look like. So just to start off with, I wanted to talk about only Cole Parkway, and then we'll talk a little bit more about, the larger study area that we've been working on. So the last time that the CPRC met was last week, and they voted to move forward with one of the alternatives that we had shared previously. Each of the alternatives that we had presented kind of prioritized different design features and different amenities for the public. This first one really prioritized parking. So this is the option that's going to expand parking. That was obviously one of the most valuable resources that Cole Parkway has to offer. So we're looking to try to expand the parking that's there already, where we can. But in addition to that, we'll have some pedestrian amenities like expanded walkways, better defined kind of sidewalks, and including some green infrastructure elements like drainage swales. We'll have some concrete planters that also double as a flood wall that'll go along the western side of the site to protect those buildings and storefronts from coastal flooding. And then looking to try to raise the elevation of the parking lot up about 1.5 to 2 feet, kind of depending on where you are. So this snippet is kind of the base alternative that was voted to move forward with. We're going to incorporate a few other smaller design features like some additional green space here and there that we're going to add throughout the site. But for the most part, this is kind of the key emphasis of what we're going to be moving forward with. This project has an estimated construction cost of between $5.3 and $6.6 million. We'll talk a little bit more about funding a little later on in the presentation, but this is ultimately the direction that the CPRC has voted to move forward with, given public feedback and kind of the current operational uses and future needs of the project site. So I wanted to talk now about the Scituate Harbor Flood Damage Reduction Project, and that's that red outlined area that I had shown previously that extends all the way up to the town pier. It includes Front Street, and includes kind of the Scituate Brook culvert area. So this is really, I want to emphasize that this project and this study is definitely more of like a master planning, high level concept analysis that we've been doing. It's really to start understanding kind of where the holes are, where the problem areas are along this stretch of shoreline, and really start the conversation about what a widespread flood protection structure could look like in the future. So for this project, we started out by doing just a simple site survey and evaluation to gather existing elevation data, and existing information about the structures and the waterfront infrastructure that's along the site. So you can see on the left, we put together kind of an engineering base plan that incorporates all the different topographic elevations of the site and different features. We also did a stormwater assessment to try to understand, where existing stormwater is flowing at the site, what water quality improvements need to be made, any ponding or deficiencies that we've seen in the system. So we went and did an assessment of all of that infrastructure. And then we did a pretty extensive coastal modeling analysis for this wider, area of the site. So we've got some cool graphics to show for that. And then the last phase that we're still in the working phase of this bullet, but we're working on developing some new conceptual alternative designs. Again, these are really more high level kind of master planning to talk about, where a flood protection alignment could feasibly go, and what the benefits are of that. So you can see that working graphic on the right of the screen. So this animation is really interesting. It shows there's kind of a lot of information that we can pull from it, and it's going to loop, so just bear with me as I talk through it. But this animation basically shows the progression of how floodwater would move through the site. And this is modeling a 1% storm event. So that's statistically a storm that has a 1% chance of happening in any 1 year. Sometimes it's called a 100-year storm event. So statistically, it happens once every 100 years. Basically, this is just a really severe coastal flooding event that, has pretty widespread impacts. And what you can see on this model is it starts in the dark blue and then it kind of changes and shifts colors all the way up to this yellow that you see before it all sort of recedes and turns into that green. The colors represent the different water surface elevation. So obviously as storm surge comes in, it's going to raise the elevation of, the harbor and the coastal waters coming in. And that's where it gets closer to that yellow color. The blue is a lower elevation. So that's kind of the depth that we can pull from this. But another really interesting thing that or that this animation shows us is really where the weak points are along the waterfront. So you can see specifically at Cole Parkway and Mill Wharf, as water starts to come in, those are the two first places to flood. That's where, the floodwater is actually traveling into the site via those pathways. And then as, the water gets deeper and deeper, it starts infiltrating further and further inland, traveling down Mill Wharf Plaza and Otis Place to end up flooding Front Street. So, a lot of information that we can pull from this animation here. This figure also includes some of the coastal modeling output data that we were able to gather. What this shows is a 2030 storm event. So this takes into account sea level rise that we might see as soon as 2030. And it, again, is a 100-year storm event, so that really severe coastal storm. And what it really shows is how deep the water would be at different locations in the site. So this is kind of the maximum flooding that you would see from a 1-year storm or a 100-year storm event in 2030. The orange color kind of represents, just a couple of inches of flooding, whereas as you get closer and closer to the blue color, that represents deeper and deeper waters. So just to give some perspective of what this kind of looks like, the lowest points along the waterfront are unsurprisingly at Cole Parkway and at Mill Wharf. And the lowest elevation is about 6.2 feet, and that's referencing a vertical datum. So it's 6.2 feet is how high in space the top of the bulkhead along Mill Wharf or the top of the boat ramp at Cole Parkway is. In 2030, in a storm scenario of this 100-year storm event, that water surface elevation would go up to 10.3 feet. So that's about 4 feet higher than what the existing lowest point of the bulkhead would be. And then in 2050, obviously it just gets worse and worse as sea level rise continues to impact the extent and the depth of flooding that we're going to see. So what this information means for us as consultants, we take all of this data, we look at the existing survey data that we gathered across the site to understand what the existing elevations are. And we really look at trying to understand how we can, best benefit the downtown Scituate Harbor area without impeding some of the, necessary operational needs of these sites as waterfront facilities like a boat ramp and, waterfront outdoor dining facilities, still needing to maintain access at the pier and things like that. So we kind of balance all of these and we come up with what's called a design flood elevation. And that's really what we set the top of our flood protection barrier to. The top of that structure is at a certain elevation that protects the site from a certain storm scenario. So based on the surrounding elevations and what we feel is really feasible to achieve in this area, we set that elevation at 12 feet. So that would provide protection from a 2050 100-year storm event. One thing I do want to emphasize is that this is providing protection against just the still water elevation. So it doesn't include things like wave action or splash over. There might still be some isolated flooding from things like that. But ultimately, kind of the actual surge elevation would be protected if we were to bring this flood protection structure up to that elevation 12. So we used this information and we came up with a couple of different potential alignments of where we could extend a flood protection structure along this area to really get the protection that we would need to keep it dry during a storm event. So that's kind of what these next two slides are going to show you. This red line here, this shows one option that we're looking at, which is an inland-based flood protection. And then we also have a waterside-based flood protection as well. There's pros and cons to each of them, which we're currently in the process of evaluating. But with an inland flood protection, one of the benefits is that because we're further in the upland areas of the site, you don't need to construct that structure as high as you would if it was further towards the water, because the elevations of the ground are already up a little bit higher. There's less that you need to do in order to actually get your design flood elevation up to that design number that we're trying to reach. So you can see on this red line here, it's kind of extending all the way around, just south of, or I guess just to the north of the Scituate Brook culvert. In a situation like this, we would probably need to implement something like a deployable flood barrier, which is basically a structure that you would install just in advance of a storm scenario. It would only go up just before the storm, and then it would come right down afterwards. So you're really limiting how much, obstruction to traffic flow and things like that you would have. It would need to wrap around all the way around Cole Parkway and then extend a little bit down Old Dock Street before it goes up Mill Wharf Plaza, and then essentially extends along Front Street in this northern portion of the site. And then it'll tie into the town pier, and ultimately these portions of the site are already up at that design flood elevation, so it could tie into the upland areas there. What this might look like is almost like a small retaining wall that would go along Front Street. There's a couple of all these little images in the circles are kind of example images or precedent images of similar situations that something like this has been implemented in. So you can see this is almost a small retaining wall. This is actually at the Cole Parkway entrance on the top right. And then the other image down here is another small retaining wall that's located on one of the side streets around Front Street. So really this would blend into the landscape. It's going to be similar to what's out there now, and it really just kind of protects the Front Street area. Down at Cole Parkway, we have a little bit more real estate. We're able to implement some waterside protection. So that would look like something like a raised seawall. But ultimately, this is one option. And then the other one that we are considering in terms of kind of where the barrier would go is a waterside barrier. So again, we're still going to have the town pier be protected, but now we've got our concrete seawall that is not only extending around Cole Parkway, but it's also going to be along some of the private properties and the Mill Wharf restaurant area, to really keep that flood barrier further towards the water side. Like I said, there's pros and cons to both of these. We're obviously getting a little bit more protection out of something like this, but it's going to be a much larger investment. With the higher level of protection comes a higher level of obviously construction cost, and a lot of coordination would be needed with property owners for a situation like this. We could include something like a raised bulkhead along Old Dock Street next to the marina that's there. And then at the Scituate Brook culvert over here, instead of having some sort of a barrier that goes across the roadway, maybe we consider something like raising the elevation of the roadway and placing some fill over the culvert, similar to this photo, so that way it can maintain access, during a storm event. So these are just a few of the options that we've been considering. Again, we're still in very high level master planning phases, so really considering all different pros and cons for each of these, and we're trying to put this together in a matrix and put together different cost estimates, so that way the town kind of has more of an idea of what each of these might require in terms of additional design effort, or considerations for the future. So in terms of next steps, we broke this out into both the Cole Parkway project as well as the flood damage reduction project. For Cole Parkway, we now have a preferred alternative that the CPRC has selected. So looking to progress that into future design phases. We're planning to have another community outreach meeting just to make sure that we can keep the public informed of all of the work that we've been doing and kind of the direction that we want to go, how we've incorporated their feedback into the design. We'll have another regulatory meeting to talk with some of the permitting agencies about different permits that might be required from the preferred alternative, and what the environmental impacts are. And then in terms of funding, Corey's been working with the FEMA Brick Grant Agency to try to get an additional grant from the FEMA Brick program. She also has some capital funding requests in place to try to get additional money in place so that we can continue to progress the Cole Parkway project and really include those kind of interim improvements until something like a much wider scale solution could be implemented across the area that we've defined in the flood damage reduction project. On to that tune, for the flood damage reduction project, we're looking to try to finalize these high level concepts that we've been looking at, and really put together, different costs for them, make a pros and cons list. We'll work to select really a preferred option to really progress the evaluation of, and then that preferred option will run a benefit cost analysis, which basically we take the benefits of constructing a project like this, how many residences, how many businesses, what are the gains that we're getting out of constructing some sort of a structure like this? And we divide that by the costs. And this is not only the construction cost, but it's also things like maintenance. It's also things like quantifying the impacts on the environment and, pretty much trying to assign a number to understand how much bang for our buck we're getting for a project like this. So again, the Cole Parkway is definitely further along. That one's kind of more progressed in the design, and we're looking to really try to make some more active strides to keep that project moving. The flood damage reduction, definitely more of a larger scale, kind of zoomed out view of what might be considered down the road. So I think that's pretty much it for my update. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer anything, but it's been great working on this project and I appreciate it.
Allie, thank you.
Yeah,
There's
thank you.
there's a lot to go through. I love it when we get more good news, that these are actually solvable, even if they're more longer term. My question would be, what's the appetite for funding help? I mean, there seems to be no appetite at the state or federal level for much things nowadays, but just flood reduction in general. What are you seeing? Are there additional state type grants and federal, or is it usually tied up with?
I can answer that. So the FEMA BRIC program, which provided the grant for the initial phase of this project, was eliminated by the federal government. But then through a lawsuit, and it was court ordered to resurrect it. So now the program is back and the funding is now available. And they're accepting proposals now through the state. So we are actively applying for that funding to continue this program.
This is on the flood port or both?
Mostly for the Cole Parkway, because that is further along in design and something that we can achieve because it's town of Scituate owned property.
We've detailed it to that point.
Yeah, so it's probably a good chunk of funding that we could progress it all the way to like a finalized design.
But my larger question you answered, which is great. I knew there was some concern of funding being available or not, but it seems like things are hopefully for now back. I'll open it up.
Well, I have one question. It's on the short term, so it's all the way back to slide 4. I want to make sure that there's still an upgrade to the boat launch ramp that looks like it's being regraded and resurfaced in your plan. So that hasn't been dropped out. It's just not one of the key bullets and key improvements.
Yes. Yep. Exactly. It's definitely still planning to make improvements there and try to smooth out that vertical curve there. So yep, definitely planning to still incorporate that in the preferred alternative.
Okay, that would be people would think that would be a key improvement.
Okay.
If you're presenting again.
Okay. Good to know.
I have
Thank
to ask
you.
how many parking spots we gain in this design.
So I want to say It's, I think, 8 total. What we ended up doing is adding in an extra row down at the bottom here. We did convert some of the spaces that are, you know, regular passenger car spaces over here, converted those to trailer spaces. So I think it's, you know, if you do the trade-off, that's kind of -2 +1 if you factor that in. But I want to say we're adding 8 if I'm not mistaken, but I can definitely follow up on that and get you a
That
phone.
would be a good number to know too, I think, right, Fred, is that what you're getting?
Well, I mean, we're spending $6 million and we're getting 8 parking spaces and it's gonna flood anywhere. All around.
So the Cole Parkway project, you know, originally when we had presented the data, there was, I'm sorry.
5.3 million.
5 million for flood control. I don't think it's just for park.
No, but the flooding's still coming around and we're getting
Yeah, I mean-
8 more parking spaces. We're getting a slightly better boat ramp.
It's the
But we're
high.
just sort of kicking the can down the road a little bit more if we don't look at this overall.
Oh, yeah, you gotta do both. You have to do both, but the 2 feet, I mean, that's gonna help on the high
Yeah.
tides and the normal.
It'll eliminate, you know, 90% of the flooding because it's only, I think, during the 1% 2030 storm that we start to see that flanking, right, Ally?
So I believe the flanking starts at the 20, if we go up to elevation 9, which is the DFE at Cole Parkway, design flood elevation, I want to say it's the 2050 one-year storm event, but I can double check on that. Basically, what we did for Cole Parkway is we tried to raise the grade to the elevation to try to, you know, limit how much of a flooding we're getting gathering kind of in the actual parking lot itself. So trying to raise that up to the point, the tipping point we've been calling it, of when floodwaters end up flanking around the site and coming in. And, you know, one of the ways that we had tried to go about this was the improvements that we're proposing at Cole Parkway. Those will still be improvements that are going to benefit the project, even if the longer term, you know, wider spread flood protection project is implemented. These are things that are going to keep, you know, some of the rainwater from accumulating on the site. We're going to raise the catch basins up, and it's still going to be a better pedestrian experience for people. It's just, you know, it wouldn't be effective for us to go any higher. There wouldn't be any cost benefit to us building up higher to that elevation 12. Given the fact that flanking is such a concern at the site.
But king tide, so a major king tide, that's fixed. It's, yeah, there's a major storm. We need major improvements. Right, so
I wanted to give a little bit of my perspective as liaison to the committee that sat through the meetings and listened to the perspective of other committee members, if I can, but I didn't know if Jamie or you had other questions.
I'm fine, go right ahead.
Yeah. So, I'm gonna jump back and forth a little bit, but my overall perspective is this, that give or take, when we talked about the senior center earlier, it took us, give or take, 22 years to go from start thought process to denial to finally getting it passed, to getting it built, to having people using the new senior center. Ballpark. If we start this process right now, 22 years, takes us to 2050 storm. So with that in mind, I want to give Ally, Corey, the committee, everybody that's working on this, huge kudos for what is a monster undertaking of engineering, discussion, design, public input, fighting with priority levels and reality versus money, et cetera. So massive undertaking. But my bottom line perspective on this meetings and where we are today is that as a committee, we're doing great work. But if we only talk about what I'll call part A, we are not being aggressive enough and we are not being progressive enough to think about this town's future. That's my underlying statement. When we have our meetings, we talk about culverts, we talk about water, drainage, fixing the storming, the flooding. To me, these are huge implications that we talk about at the national, international, Whether you believe in global warming or not, whether you believe in climate change or not, any scientist, which is who we use for our experts, will tell you this is going to happen. So for us to plan on improving one parking lot that will, as Freya suggested, absolutely flood around in a number of years, which we are all going to be here for, that is not good enough to me. But we have to start somewhere. And right now we are working through part A. And as long as we understand very clearly that we have to enable part B, then I think part A is a really, really good start. And we are almost there to achieving those details so that we can actually go after them. And I think Corey and her team are doing a great job of getting to that point. Now, I still think that alternate one that we are, as a committee, approving to go forward with, in my personal opinion, is not enough, because the underground retention basins that we're building, we could spend a little bit more money and get a much more valuable detention basin that's going to protect us for 30, 50 plus years rather than 10 to 20 years for quote unquote short money on what we consider with these kinds of projects. And I think that, and I'm going to be very outspoken here, and I'm going to lose the vote every time right now. I think we spend entirely too much time talking about parking and not enough time talking about flooding, because the businesses can't use parking if the businesses are full of water. So we have to think about flooding as our top priority. Parking is absolutely in the top 3 or 4. It beats whether or not there's a ping pong table out there in the green space, but it doesn't beat climate, seawall, sea level rising type changes. So to me, that's crucial. And we always come back to parking. We always come back to people who live here right now who want to go to CVS on Saturday in the summer and want to be able to park within 50 feet of it. And I understand those perspectives. And if somebody doesn't want to vote for me in 2 years, that's totally fine. But we have to think about 30 years from now, 50 years from now, because I'd like to try and balance what a 10-year-old resident of Scituate now is going to do when they're 90, just as much as what an 80-year-old resident today can't afford in a tax-laden town. So when we talk about supporting our businesses and we talk about those kinds of things, I think it's really, really important that we're really talking about whether that business can be here in 30 years, or whether we're going to have to tell that same business that they actually have to move to 3A in a new business district, because that's now sand and water. So I think that's really important. To the actual implications of the flooding, yes, it's correct that new 9-foot elevation parking lot will be dry in most circumstances. And I totally accept it and acknowledge and agree that the day of the 100-foot storm, we've got bigger problems than parking at the Lobster Ramp. However, I think that when we look at what the implications are on a regular basis, we can't only accept that a 100-year storm is like that. We'll just worry about it when we get sandbags. I think we really have to think about more along the line of monthly, if we're not worried about daily. And so one of the big implications of necessitating the plan B, the phase 2 red line conversation, as opposed to just the blue line here, is that when you talk about Mill Wharf Plaza, when you talk about the bridge at Maria's, et cetera, we have to understand that that must be a next step. It could take us a while, but we have to start thinking about that now. I acknowledge Corey's work to get us to the point of enabling Ali's team to start looking at the red line. And then Ali, I don't know if you can pull up not this red and blue line, but the red versus light blue line. I think it's.
Sure, this guy?
Yes, thank you. So if you look at the red versus the blue line here, the big difference here is that the red line essentially is encompassing a lot of what we would call town-owned space. The blue line is essentially encompassing all harbor space. And I think it's valuable to understand that right now as we start brainstorming about phase 2, because even though I will acknowledge there are some challenges, some deep challenges about working with private owners and private property, this is the line that I think we must consider. We must really seriously consider the blue line as where we're going to go as an entire community to protect every resident that wants a shopping district and an access district to come to. red line falls short of that goal, just because it looks at only what we have better control of right now. We need to start thinking about proactively engaging with the other land and business owners and residents to make sure that we're protecting everybody that wants to some point during the year come down to Cole Parkway. The last thing I'll say is that from a Park Phase A standpoint right now, the first blue line, the Cole Parkway circle, one of the things that we look at with raising it to 9 feet instead of 12 feet, which is essentially the difference between that next 10, 15 years versus the next 50 years of sea level rise and bigger storms, is that the blue line is number one, something we can do now, yes, and we should attack it. But we need to just we need to recognize that to the south, and maybe even more importantly, to the north in Mill Wharf and those businesses leading from Mill Wharf really all the way up to the quarter deck or Lucky Finger, however you describe it in town pier. Those areas aren't only susceptible to the future rise, they're susceptible to the fact, and this is something that Bob has brought up many times in meetings, and he is a owner of Mill Wharf Plaza, so I understand his vested interest. But he brings up a great point, that there are certain scenarios in which protecting the blue line makes any water that would have gone there push harder into the red line areas. And so as we raise it to 9 feet, when Bob's parking lot floods or when the lobster ramp floods, it actually starts to push back because we've protected the blue area. So that's another reason to really start thinking about phase 2 as a very important topic.
Right.
So I just wanted to kind of outline those thoughts.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
We totally on board. I think 5 years ago was the only dissenting vote against the habit of building the new school. And I said at the time, I'd rather spend my money going from Pier 44 all the way over exactly what we're talking about. Because we lose that harbor, so many fewer folks are going to be, you already need that school. This whole thing disappears.
Do we have those
So,
numbers?
Financial numbers?
Like how much, sorry for
numbers.
how many businesses, how many residents are in the harbor area that we're looking
Yeah,
to protect?
I don't have right in front of me, but yes, we have all that. My point being, is that yes, there's also the art of the possible. And I think part of this is understand what we can get support for, what we can move forward with, and actually at the time afford. Because again, the town has made some decisions, and we have to play the hand that we're dealt.
From a cost standpoint, and Ally and Corey, you can check me if I'm off on these numbers. The current alternate one discussion that the committee voted to bring forward to the next phase of design is about, call it 6 million, and that's 6 million today, not when we build it.
Right.
That 6 million to the alternate 2B, which had details that nobody loved, but it was the most expensive. The most expensive rounded out at about 11 to 12.
Yes.
So, you're talking a $5 million difference. That's not small money. But we're spending 70 on the water treatment plant, right? We're spending, big money on the school. In my mind, this is a big project. This is not just a parking area. This is a infrastructure to protect our town's future area. And so based on that, when you're talking about, you brought up the boat ramp, Susan, the current vote, I missed the end of the meeting, but the current vote was to include the boat ramp, but not to extend it.
Right, not to extend it.
I still am very much in support of,
Mhm.
and the committee voted to hold on that purely because of the increased cost, which was we had some permitting questions, but we haven't answered them.
And,
But we're probably talking $1 million, $1.5 million difference.
Yeah.
For an alternate to the Jericho ramp that improves our safety, improves our infrastructure, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm still in very much favor of, again, I'll say it in the meeting on camera, I'm in favor of looking to be more progressive about our investment here so that we are getting much longer term values than just thinking about whether or not we're saving $1 million today versus a 50-year span and saving 5 parking spots, 20 parking spots versus the future.
Or short term, would it be in our interest right now to get to work on those drainage outlets? Because that's probably about 75% of the problem, not a king tide, just a high tide.
Yeah, I think we could probably start there, but we'd have to redig everything up later if we wanted to add more. So if we wanted to just retrofit the existing stormwater catch basins with
Like an elephant trunk or
so
something.
yeah, with backflow preventers, it would require a lot of excavation and stuff like that, but we'd have to come back and do it again later if we wanted to add the fill to change the grade. And probably Ally's better at answering this because she's the engineer, but do you think that it would be worth it to just try to retrofit the existing stormwater catch basins?
I mean, I think you did a great job, Corey. Like you said, it really would be including things like backflow preventers, replacing some of the damaged pipes. But even, on site, I'm sure a lot of you have seen it's really hilly. And that's all just because some of the stormwater infrastructure has settled over time. So one of the key issues that we've been observing of why water kind of bubbles up through those during those king tide events is just because the elevation of the catch basins and everything is so low. So, there's certainly things that could be done to kind of put a Band-Aid on it, but really at the end of the day, that's all it is it's just a Band-Aid. It's not going to actually improve any of the operational resilience of the structure. You really need to kind of elevate it as high as you can go within the parking lot for it to have any real benefit.
One other question, I'd like to see some drawings of what it looks like up against the businesses. You're gonna be raising that parking lot 1.5 feet. What does that look like when you get over the sidewalk?
Okay, yes, I think we do have a
In my
cross.
head, I can't.
Yeah, we do have cross sections of that. I don't
So
think
now
we.
have the elevations.
Yeah.
One of the main reasons we're going to 9 and not to 12 in phase A today, current future, is that at 12, which is really more phase B thinking, big picture, we would be elevating the parking lot to the point where it actually starts flooding Front Street and flooding the business. Actually, even the backside of
We don't want
the sidewalk at CVS would be underwater, even though the parking is dry. So that was one of the 9 essentially takes us in line with the sidewalk.
Right, and then additionally, we're widening that sidewalk so that the difference in the grade won't be as pronounced. So it'll be a little bit more gradual with the wider sidewalk. I mean, we're not widening it by a huge amount, but a couple feet.
Redoing the whole site also allows us to actually grade it properly, so everything slopes towards the ocean and towards the river.
Yes.
Which it doesn't now.
Right, it's like a bowl.
Again, I'm with you. I mean, people have to understand, what were the high school locker rooms? 3 million, 6 million?
2.5, I think, roughly, high school outgoes, 2.5.
So,
Three-phase projects.
2.5 to 3 million for new locker rooms. 5.3 to 6.6 today. It's cute. I mean, start having those conversations.
But those numbers aren't gonna be the numbers in 20 years or whenever this actually happens.
Yeah, I hope they say it's in 20 years, we're hoping 2 years. That's still not gonna be these numbers.
Yeah.
It'll be increasing. But that's why we wanna keep moving forward now.
And then another consideration is that I've kind of put this project on a glide path to move through like a phased project funding approach. So right now we have, one grant that gets us to 30% design, and then I'm applying for another grant that'll get us to the, 90% design, and then another grant that'll get us over the last little bit, and then another grant for actual construction. So it's kind of on that glide path where I'll try to get as much FEMA funding as possible, that'll reduce the overall cost to taxpayers.
Any other questions before we get to? Yep. Back and because I always forget, even though I know, but name and address for the record, because I'm.
Linda Ferguson, 57 East Way, and I'm also a business owner and farmer.
I feel like I'm having major deja vu because 10 years ago, I was on a subcommittee that went through this exact process with DPW, fire, police, harbor master, business owners, everybody. And the good thing is we both came to the same conclusion. So I'm pretty happy about that. Nico is 100% correct. Considering anything other than that light blue line is just not gonna work. Even in the other studies, same thing. If you don't get Millwork parking lot involved in this, it's just gonna flood from the backside. So I don't think anyone's time should even be wasted talking about that little half thing because it's not gonna work. I can't even read what I was writing. That was the thing I didn't hear this, but so I guess I just want to say, as a business owner down there, if you're not going to protect the entire part of Front Street and the entire harbor, I just don't think it's worth it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll speak for myself on this. I think absolutely do we have to do, again, I voted because I want to do the whole thing. But here's like another thing that like when I first joined the board, I remember going to Jim's office, why can't we do more than 3 miles of pipe in a year? Well, because like physically you can't because the water pressure and others, there's so many other things. And it's like, wait a minute, how do we actually get to do the whole thing? Now, I guess we had the other one, we came here, humbly to do the whole thing. This is the way to get there. That it's like you're doing it in stages. And yes, it's going to take a long time, but to try to do everything all at once, it's not going to, it's going to be like a sieve. And just like the logistics of it are absolutely ridiculous. But no, I'll say I'm not giving up doing the whole thing. But to do that, we had to do stage 1.
I know, I get that. I just guess I'm saying that the project as a whole should be to do the entire thing. Because the other question I would have is if you only do, that's not the line, but whatever that other line was where it went.
Oh, let me grab that one.
So the blue line, great, but if you could go back to the orange one, I would ask, so if you're gonna build these walls, you're essentially cutting off Millwork parking lot from the rest of the town, like how is that gonna work? Because you go down that road there to get into Millwork parking lot, but if it's all a big wall there, you're not getting into Millwork parking lot.
Some of those are floodgate removable, right? So like when we have the parades, we bring in those security barriers, right, with the bulldozer and lay them down, then we take them out after the parade goes by. So you have walls that can be put up in, half an hour or an hour, and then you remove them. The issue I would have is still just even from a beautification standpoint. If you have a 4-foot wall, it visually makes you feel like it's a jail, even if it's not a jail until the floods come. So I agree with you, but I think the bigger way to look at it is that when we look at a phase 1 versus 2, 3, 4, there are going to be some aspects of what we do to Cole Parkway, what I would call phase 1 of a larger scheme, that right now, and I said it earlier, I think the committee is still not being progressive enough to consider where a little bit more money, I'll say it again, is going to buy us not only more now, it's something we don't have to build twice or take down what we just built to build a higher one 8 years from now. Right. Those are the things I want to get.
Yeah, we're getting an update. We'll cross that bridge when it floods.
Good progress.
All right. Now we'll go on. Allie, thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Thanks, Allie.
Take care.
All up.
Yeah.
Great. Back to back updates. I love it. I'll get to Shark and Pure Water.
My computer.
Great. Thank you for inviting us back. I'm Paul Barkowitz, Chair of the Pier 44 Commission. Our commission was formed by the board in 2021. We have liaison representatives from Recreation, Commission on Disabilities, Waterways, Economic Development, Harbor Cultural Commission, Select Board, and Ori is our town staff member. Our mission from the board was to assist in developing a waterfront park at Pier 44. Our vision is to do more than build a park. It'll be create a space It's welcoming to everyone in the community that will be part of the fabric of our community for generations to come. It'll be a place where high school kids have their prom pictures taken, where wedding proposals or marriage proposals are made, where wedding pictures are taken. It'll just be an essential part. When we build this park, we won't remember when it wasn't there. It'll just be a quintessential gateway to the harbor. It'll be a magnet for the harbor. We've done a lot of outreach. We wanted the community to a large extent to design this park. We've had a couple of public surveys with a lot of participation, public meetings, extensive outreach to town departments, to community organizations, to the adjoining property owners and businesses. And we've taken all that information, hired a consultant, Copley Wolf, and had them incorporate those concepts and feedback we've gotten from the board, of course, into a design. We're at 90% design. And of course, the design reflects all the requirements on the permitting. We have a significant milestone in completing all environmental review, all state, local, and federal permits. So we've made substantial progress on that. Earlier this year, we met with Jim Brudeau and Nancy Holt and the officers of community preservation, talk about a funding strategy. And I think a strategy that we've come to is recommend town issue bond anticipation notes that would be secured with funding from CPC. The amount of CPC funding would be decreased to the extent we obtained grant funding from outside sources. Corey's going to talk about grant funding opportunities she's pursuing. She's really good at it. She's really been, I really commend Corey every opportunity I have. She just made this thing happen, and she's answered the call, every time. Corey's going to talk about schedule, cost estimates, and work she's done to look a little harder at the cost estimates we got from the consultant and reduce some significant amount. Plan, Corey will go through all of this. The plan will be to go out for public bidding before fall town meeting and in 2027 or 2026, I should say, fall town meeting. So we'll know what the actual cost will be. Of course, we won't bid. We won't award anything. Town won't award till we have the funding. We'll do more public outreach before fall town meeting and get additional input and explain what we're doing with this project. So we're really excited about it. We've made a lot of progress. We're getting close. Of course, another big milestone is we've had 3 meetings with community preservation this year. At a meeting earlier this month, community preservation unanimously approved bringing to town meeting this funding proposal that I mentioned, where town would issue bond anticipation notes supported by funding from CPC, and then we reduce that funding commitment to the extent we get other bond funds. So with that, we're of course happy to answer questions, but turn it over to Corey. She's got a presentation for all these schedule and costs and grant funding.
There we go. So just as a reminder, this is the general layout of the park. We have a parking area on the outside, the boardwalk and shade structure with an open lawn for picnics and whatnot, and some stormwater management features on the edges, with also a small boat tie-up, which is kind of outlined here at the bottom. Am I sharing, or is this?
No, I think Seth has it.
Oh, okay.
Do you see it on your screen there? Yes, Ms. Miles? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yep, you're sure.
There we go. Now I'm sharing. So this is kind of what the site looks now, and this is a rendering of, what we think it could be like. Disclaimer, it was created using AI, just for illustrative purposes only. May appear a little different once it's built, but you can see it's a big improvement over this large expanse of pavement. And the aim is to create green space that is floodable, so that it can retain flooding on site and minimize flood impacts to neighboring properties and to Jericho Road. We got a cost estimate to do construction, and the breakdown of the various elements totaled approximately $6 million. When we went to CPC with this funding, they weren't receptive to that amount. So they asked us to go back and see if we could find some ways to reduce the cost. One thing in particular that stood out to them was the cost of the shade structure being at $1.6 million. They asked if we could remove that from the design and bring the cost down. So that's what I did, remove the shade structure. I did also reduce the landscaping budget by reducing the number of trees and using smaller plants that are less expensive. I also excluded site furnishings because I figured maybe we could, obtain donations for memorial benches. So, again, I was just looking at ways to bring down the cost as much as possible so that CPC would approve the project. So overall, I reduced the cost by a little over $2 million. This is just a breakdown of the different types of costs that would be associated with the construction. So the largest cost is the boardwalk, but that is also, kind of the biggest asset of the park, and the biggest draw for the entire park shoreline is having that boardwalk there for people to really engage with the shoreline, engage with the harbor, and preserve that view shed out into the harbor across the lighthouse. So these are the grants that I'm applying for. I don't know if we'll get any of these grants, but I'm going to apply for them this year. And hopefully if we do get these grants, we can reduce the amount that CPC will be funding. So that will be some cost savings there.
Or you apply for a grant, you're like Ted Williams. You're like in the Hall of Fame, at least like 40% of the time.
Yeah, well,
know how well you did.
I mean, my luck might run out sometime, so I don't know. I wouldn't get too crazy there.
I just add though, in conceiving and designing the park, with particularly Corey's input, she knows what different grants score highly. Improving water quality, reducing impermeable surfaces, things like that. So we factored many of those into the design of the parks, just anticipation of scoring well on the grants.
Exactly. So these are kind of like the next steps as we go through to the fall town meeting and beyond. So right now we're at May. We've got CPC approval of the revised cost. And now I'm applying for grants. Hopefully this summer, maybe around August, we can put project out to bid and get contractor bids in time for the fall town meeting. We'll also do some public outreach along the way to make sure that people understand what the park is in advance of town meeting, so that hopefully we'll get approval for it there. Unfortunately, we won't know if we'll get any of these grants until probably after town meeting. That's just timeline of how that works. But we can still say that we've applied for them. We just probably won't know if they've been received. And then, town meeting, I think, is in. Do you remember when-
October 19th, I heard.
Okay, so yeah, so then if the article is approved there, then we can award the bid and start construction in winter 2027. Construction could take as long as 12 months. Hopefully it won't, but we would anticipate finishing construction in winter of 2028 and hopefully have our ribbon cutting on a shiny new park in spring of 2028.
Want to make just a comment about the shade structure. So the design team designed a beautiful shade structure. And I should mention, in the surveys, having a shade structure was a very high priority in the responses. So the shade structure is beautiful, but it costs over $1 million too, at least that's the estimated cost. So as Corey mentioned, we've taken that out of the initial phase, plan to have in a subsequent phase, but we understand that you can get kind of off the shelf shade structure that will accomplish the same thing at a much, much, much lower cost. So I think it's probably very feasible to add the shade structure in at some future time.
I'll open it up. Just one quick question. Or could you just talk just a little bit? I know it's not exactly in the talking about Gold Parkway flooding. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of having green space and how that deals with flooding versus pervious versus impervious, just for folks at home really understand,
Sure, absolutely. Right. Well, so this site is about 1 acre. It's not a very big site, but it's entirely paved. It's completely impervious. So what happens is that when it rains or when there's any type of water on that surface, it just runs off, either back into the harbor or towards the inland properties. By replacing that pavement with green space that incorporates some low impact stormwater design features, you're able to retain that water on the site and let it slowly infiltrate back into the harbor through a series of underground pipes, and prevent that water from moving inland. So that will help prevent flooding from.
So it helps the whole area, not just
right.
Not
So
the storm drains, which then get backed up.
Jericho Road as well.
Yeah. So
I was looking at Kevin, but okay. No, I'm just trying to understand the whole kind of the concept.
Right. So these two pictures show, that there's no green space on the site now that can absorb floodwaters.
It's a push.
As you look at this, I just want to point out, I mentioned our vision is this will be a space for everyone in the community. So this is designed with universal access protocols. So the elevations of the walkways are such that you can, if you have a wheelchair, you can traverse that.
Natural shade structures there too.
Yes.
Well, we had to eliminate a lot of trees to bring the landscaping costs down.
So my wife will be the first to tell everybody that I usually talk too much. I'm the liaison coincidentally here as well. I could not be more in support of this project. I think that one of the things that Paul and Corey did not mention tonight is important, which is that it will very strongly link the harbor to the lighthouse. It links our harbor better than we have today. One of the key components that we haven't talked about is that this budget includes the space for public restrooms, which we don't have along this space now, so those will be in this new park. And
porta potty?
we're basically looking at
the moment.
That's the trailer.
Yeah, maybe not quite that.
Not porta potties, it'll be
Upscale,
upscale.
like at a wedding.
Upscale, removable.
It has to be removable because of where it is in flood.
But not a porta potty. Full bathrooms, that plumbing will be installed on site for the bathrooms. So it would just be removed because we need it to be removed for EPA and storm.
Yeah, FEMA.
One of the other things they didn't mention was simply that there's a lot of upgrades to the site in terms of not just the green space, but also the retention wall and the storm walls here. That helps both with our EPA value and grant funding, but also just in terms of the quality of the space. And lastly, I'll simply say that Corey's worked really hard to basically reduce the cost of this project, the projected cost, by about 31%. From where we started, which I think is tremendous to the taxpayers and the residents. And it's going to give us a phenomenal space that every single resident of Scituate in every generation can use for the foreseeable future. So, thank you.
I mean, I'm being petty, but I don't know any trees that would survive salt water, and it makes me very nervous trying to fund trees as memorial trees and telling somebody that their loved one is gonna have a tree and then this park is designed to flood. I mean, I'm all for, you know, if people want to build benches or statues or whatever, but I don't know that planting trees in a floodplain and saying that's for your mom or that's for your whoever is okay. I remember when this was all going down, you know, people were once again upset about parking. How many parking spaces do we have now in this new design?
Let's see, there's, I think 13 in the parking lot on the side, and then maybe 6 or 8 along the road.
Yeah.
8, okay.
Parallel parking along the road. Then there's opportunities for parallel parking further down along the marina. And I know the select board's looking at
Possibly up to an additional 8 further down.
right. So I think if that occurred, we'd be, I think, 32 or 34 spaces. You know, the property was acquired with MBTA mitigation funds as specifically to create a waterfront park. The funds don't authorize creating a parking lot. And it's only, as Corey said, it's only an acre. I mentioned surveys. So we had a survey in February of 2023. 1,284 people participated. The consultant was blown away by that level of participation. It's far more than they've seen in other surveys. We put parking on as something to comment on. We had, out of the 1,284, 968 people favored 10 to 14 parking spaces. We were at town meeting for approval of $300,000 in CPC grant funding for the pre-construction activities. And, you know, parking was raised as well then and discussed. And I think at that town meeting, I think maybe 5 people voted against the proposal. So parking's been talked about. We know it's important, and we've done, I think, a pretty reasonable effort to address it while preserving a park instead of a parking lot. And this design and including parking is what the survey tells us, you know, people want, people support.
If I can just correct me here if I'm incorrect, the landscaping budget is in the budget, not in the memorials. What we removed from memorials was benches, bricks, things like that. So we're not suggesting that residents purchase trees as part of memorials. Those are in the landscape budget that's already in the 3.8. Correct, right?
Yeah, I did suggest, like, as one way we could, you know, get back some of the trees is if people donated for them.
The landscaping budget's part of the budget on page 2.
Yeah, there's lots.
Yes.
We just actually want
But I just reduced the budget by like 107.
I'd like to say something.
Please, yeah.
I was at the CPC meeting for this, and prior one, but it was too much money. The CPC is a very astute group, very conservative. They like this drawing. They like this idea.
They unanimously supported.
unanimous, and I want to reiterate your emphasis on the fact that this is probably the only public access to the harbor of any design, style, comfort, suitable way. When you think about the parking, if you look at the drawing, the majority of the lawn is where the building was. So yeah, there's been a little trade-off of parking, but I think it's fine. I think we're gonna have plenty of parking there. I think the project is gonna complement the access to the harbor for the public, not the private. And I think that is a step in the right direction for Scituate Harbor. I applaud your work and your patience and with your committee. So I do appreciate this. Thank you.
Questions, public?
Appreciate it as well, thank you.
Yes.
So I'll be the one of them to bring up parking, and I'll tell you why. First of all, we go with all due respect. Your business says it's own private parking, and nobody's taking it away. So when we talk about parking in the parking lot and everywhere else, it's everybody else's business. Actually, before I get started, I suggest we move the Purell hand dispensers to the back. We would get twice on it. Just as an FYI, I just wanted to say that before I got. See where they are, like, if you sit, your head, you know.
Oh, sit on it.
Well, Corey was sitting there too, so I'm here to ask the board to think long and hard about approving any plans that would remove parking spaces from the harbor. I've had the privilege of being on more redesign committees, flood mitigation committees, merchant groups, advisory committee, liaisons to other committees, more than I can count. I'm also a harbor business owner. The same issue comes up in every meeting and has been coming up in this meeting for months now. Parking. The reason why parking is important is because if you can't get to where you're going, you're not going to go. So currently there are two plans that have the potential to eliminate spaces. Although it seems like the Cole Parkway plan is not eliminating spaces, although if you look at it, it did say it was eliminating 5 car spaces, number one, so we think there's been changes, but whatever. And then you have Cole Parkway. So in 2015, the town did a parking study. I was not part of the study other than I was being interviewed for it, as were other residents and a ton of other business owners. The MAPC did it. And the takeaways included the following. Long-term parking, which is over 4 hours in a lane, accounted for 73% of the Mill Wharf lot and 53% of Cole Parkway. Mill Wharf lot during peak periods was well over 100% occupied. Jericho Boat Lot is not a viable lot for overflow parking, as it also has extremely high demand during peak periods. The impact of the long-term parkers this is all from their report, not my words.
You have it right here. You have a report.
Great, the other people here don't. So the impact of long-term parking cannot be overstated. Increased parking for shoppers, diners, and other visitors must be weighed against the needs of long-term parkers. Scituate Harbor is extremely sensitive to convenience parking. If they can't park, they choose to take their business elsewhere. Commercial vehicles not only occupy more than one space, the presence of these vehicles degrades the experience for other users. The lot can adequately handle parking in the fall, winter, and spring, but it's exceeded supply in certain locations during the summer. Possible things that they recommended was implementing 1-hour parking spaces on Front Street and notice establishing 2-hour parking on Cole Parkway, sell all-day passes for longer than 4 hours for Cole Parkway. And there is a need for more parking, and the only other available space near the harbor is Pier 44 lot. Quote, it is the best opportunity for satellite parking. It has between 57 to 62 spots, which could be used for long-term parking. So I'm going to tell you what's changed since then, because that was 10 years ago. The pier went from 24 spaces to 19, so we lost 5 there. Spots were lost during the redesign of Cole Parkway shortly after this study. Increased outside dining at Salt Society, Hibernian, and Galley has added 18 tables. Increased dining at TK's, Mill Wharf, and Vine Bar, which didn't exist. Other changes in increased parking were Vine Bar and Need Bakery replaced a retail store. Salt Society expanded into a whole nother space. Hibernian replaced Silent Chef. Mulaney's does large-scale events. Salt Cave requires extended parking as opposed to retail parking. Casa Verde replaced Dunkin' Donuts, now there's another restaurant or whatever, but it requires more need for longer-term parking. Condos replaced offices and took away retail parking, which used to be right next to the Need Bakery. Additional retail stores replaced financial businesses. There's potential for additional moorings possibly in which would need more parking. The potential loss of spaces when Cole Parkway is being developed, which may or may not be happening. The music store building, which has 2 businesses, once reopened, will likely add businesses and other condos, which will need more parking. There are issues with extra parking on Front Street at church events. That was brought up, 2 weeks ago or whatever. Scituate Tavern has added outdoor dining. Pier 44 is proposing to have 12 spots where they currently have 57 to 62. They're envisioning events like weddings, food trucks, and concerts, which will need well more than 12 spaces. The lot currently provides overflow parking for Scituate Tavern, boat ramp, sailing events, yacht club, and more. So obviously the need for more parking was clear in 2015, but now is far greater than it was 10 years ago. In 2015, according to the study, the only option for additional parking was Pier 44, and that has not changed. Unless the board has some trick up their sleeve, getting rid of Pier 44 will leave the harbor short on parking spaces. Ideas like making the harbor side streets like Allen and Otis Place one way and allowing parking on the other side of the street will not only change the dynamic of those neighborhoods, but it will clearly face an uphill battle, and there's no pun intended there. It will not add enough new parking spots to the harbor. Having a parking issue isn't a bad thing until it is. Meaning the need for more parking means people are coming to the harbor, which is great, but that will soon change when they can't find parking. Now is the time to ensure that we utilize what we have and make changes to ensure that the harbor has the best possible chance of succeeding. Ideas like limiting number of overnight spots at Cole Parkway by selling a limited number of overnight passes to cars registered in Front Street addresses. Possibly some more, passes for mooring holders, making spots limited to 2, 4, and 8 hours. Changing the spots on Front Street to an hour as stated in the report, or possibly some 30-minute spots to accommodate food pickup and prescriptions.
So how is this about, we're gonna stick to Pier 44 though, because actually I got a trick.
I'm getting right there now, Andrew.
All right.
So looking at the long-term parking outside Cole Parkway, like Pier 44 is the only location due to its proximity and ability to walk the harbor. Doesn't mean a park can't be there. It just means that incorporating the existing parking lot into a smaller park must and should be an option. I'm hoping that you look at all this information, meaning 10 years ago, we needed more parking, the only option was Pier 44. I just gave you a list a mile long of all the increased needs in the harbor, which means we need even more parking, and still the only option is Pier 44. Taking all that land, getting rid of 50 spots. Read the report, Jamie.
I did read the report, it's dated 2015.
And the only option then was Pier 44.
The only option was, no, there was also an option to put a double level parking garage on a property. And,
A reasonable option.
but that was 2015. We're
Right,
looking
and
at-
now 10 years later, Jamie.
We're looking
it
at parking.
increased
We're looking at parking, right? Thank you.
Right, and so what is the trick up your sleeve to replace that?
I don't think there should be any tricks.
Well, there are a few things. There's a lot of things that are different. Number one, people have voted, and they've voted not only in these other elements, like we said, town meeting, and there's no vote tonight. This is, again, just an update. But also technology has changed. Things like Spot Hero and other apps and other things that allow private citizens to use driveways and other things to actually leverage, which we haven't done, which we've never done. Two, I'm someone who believes that the market decides. I believe a lot in the free market. And the free market has decided, like we said, those businesses came and they're thriving. They're thriving for a reason. I agree that we need to look, like we talked about, for the parking along the side to make sure that there's enough. We didn't implement the 1 hour, the 15-minute. Almost 90% of the stuff that's in that report, that's all of us have had it within for the last couple of weeks. It's never done. And we want to do it now. Because this is all, we're like, why wasn't any of this stuff done?
I never saw that report.
We'll get it. We'll get it. It's, so I don't disagree, but there's so much more around the signs that we can do to improve parking that I think it's not just this area. There's so many other parts we have to do to address it. And part of it is we can't use the money just to make a parking lot.
Right.
Like legally.
Parking lot there, though, you could use it to make a park next to that park.
But people have voted.
MBTA.
So we're going like, this is the chance, right? And like, again, so we had the money, they asked us to go forward, voted, it's going forward, and that's our chance to see if we like it or don't like it. Yes.
I appreciate Linda's commentary. Earlier today, we sat in a meeting where we talked about the fact that if you're going to have an open dialogue, it's important to have it and have it when you can, so that you're not dealing with things in the late hours. So I appreciate that. I appreciate you bringing that report back up. The one thing I'll say, because there's a lot of things I could say, I think the one thing I will say about Pier 44 specifically is that one of the comments I often make in other, I think I sit on more committees that have to do with parking, ironically, than anybody else here. But the reality is this: I talk to residents, business owners a lot about Pier 44 as an alternate when they give me grief that I'm not considering enough about parking in Hill Parkway. And I will say to them, well, you have Pier 44, and the first thing they say to rebut me is, nobody will walk downtown from Pier 44.
Green.
So saving,
That's a great outline.
they don't. And saving what we know needs to be a park to maintain a parking lot that currently costs us money every single year, so that people can not want to park that far from Lucky Finn, doesn't make any sense to me. And there's still going to be parking there that's going to be cleaner, more beautified, appropriate parking for the space. That's what I'll say about it.
Can I just?
Yep.
I 100% agree with you. People don't want to park in Pier 44 and walk to the harbor. That's why I think the bathrooms over there need, they should be outside the harbor master's office. People are not walking down Front Street saying, I gotta go to the bathroom, let me walk to Pier 44. That aside, the suggestions were to make Pier 44 long-term parking, so overnight parking, so that the people who are going out on their boat for a week aren't taking spots away for customers that are gonna go to Front Street every day. So that the people who are parking their cars because they live on Front Street and they're parking their cars for a week or a month or whatever, they park at Pier 44 so that the customers have the convenient parking. So just so we're clear, that's why.
And to your commentary, I support fully, as we engage in a bigger global discussion about parking in Scituate, I support fully separating parking out for people that need to be on a boat for more than 4 hours versus need to be in CVS for 10 minutes. So I fully support that global idea.
We have that.
Well, we're not gonna, again, this is supposed to be an update that we're trying to get here. I mean, I wanted it to be a splash pad originally.
Oh, no.
5 years ago, I lost that. Yeah, splash pad, first meeting, no,
Right.
really like that.
Water resource.
I was trying to bring people in.
Potable water.
No, yeah, you recycle the water, it was gonna be a whole, so, it's been quite the journey. Other questions, other concerns, public? Yes.
Just because it came up at the chamber last week, we want to remind people how we got here. Current Pier 44 building floods. The bathrooms are not handicap accessible. It needs windows, it needs work. We start working on it, it will need to become into compliance with federal flood regulations, which means the building will be 16 feet up in the air, which is how we got to Pier 44 needs to come down. Because we would have to build a brand new building, 16 feet up in the air, a handicap ramp. We probably started Linda's parking lot to get down there. So it just wasn't economically feasible to do that to a building that's not used all the time.
Can I ask a question about that? Do we know how often, I know that is the fax still in that building?
Yep.
Do they have a place to go?
We have a place where we go, yeah.
Okay, and do we know how much that building is used?
Yeah, we can get that. Our office is the one that.
And they'll have a place to go?
Well, the rentals will have to go someplace else. They'll have to go by River Maritime Center someplace else. We don't do a lot of those rentals. Recreation uses it
Rec
sometimes.
uses it, we have an AA group that uses it, and then it's just private rentals, really.
I would just love to see those numbers that we're gonna.
The private rentals, how many private rentals we do?
Yeah, we can do that. We have that, we have scheduled.
In-house.
It's a as-is building, which we tell people it's an as-is building,
Okay.
so.
No, I'm not saying the place is not in shambles, I'm not saying that I'm not for a park. I've said what I said and I wanna see the numbers.
Yeah, we have.
That's all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we get to that. It's easy.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All your boards. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. All right.
Good job, Corey.
Let's actually, yeah, let's do that. We're gonna take a 5-minute recess. Sorry, Kevin.
No truck for you.
5-minute recess.
5 more minutes. 5 more minutes.
No truck. 5 more. All right, we're back. Session, I said, use that whole thing. We're back. Purchase a pickup truck. Kevin Cafferty, this is what we approved at town meeting, correct?
Yep, so we're looking for approval of a pickup truck. The price we have put together is $67,245.10. Our budget was $78. Pretty straightforward.
Sort of approved at town meeting, passed by town meeting, came in under budget. Questions, concerns?
Motion?
Motion.
I'm assuming it's blue.
Move that the select board award the contract for the purchase of a 2026 Ford F-150 pickup truck for Public Works Department from McGovern MHQ Inc. for $67,245.10.
Second.
Move, Dr. Gilmore, seconded, Dr. Schlegel, under budget. Well done.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
It is unanimous. All right, this is just the amendment. Okay. CMAP.
So-
Proposal.
Simple amendment. I spoke to our representative at CMAS, and unfortunately, they cannot go into a 10-year contract. They can do a 5-year contract with an extension by mutual agreement to go an additional 5 years, but it would have to be signed by the board of CMAS, and they just said it's just impossible to get done. So the longest they can do out of our general area is a 5-year, with the option to extend for an additional 5 years if we're each happy with the bid.
This is what we just approved 2 weeks ago, 4
Yep.
weeks ago. Can't do 10, this is right, better price than what we wanted.
Motion move to amend the prior approval of the disposal agreement with Green World CMAS for $104.31 per ton, commencing on July 1, 2026, with an annual positive increase of CPI for water, sewer, and trash collection index not to exceed 3% for 5 years, with a 5-year extension by mutual consent.
So Dr. Gilmore, seconded by Dr. Akonasenko, all in favor?
Aye.
It is unanimous. All right, I think our vice chair had a suggestion.
Yeah, I think the water sewer rates are gonna be a little bit of a discussion, so is it possible to just go through the mooring rules and regulations, which are administrative
Yeah, it's
changes, so that, because we do have Howie here from Waterways Commission as well as our master. You won't be okay with that?
I like that.
It's on page 121. It's on 121. And, this is just to update. Go through.
Please.
I'm happy to go through the, or if you want to talk about this.
So this all started probably about 6 or 8 months ago when I came in and was asking about updating the mooring rules and regulations to mirror the bylaws and for the definition of a commercial fisherman. We started that, and then that kind of turned into something else. And it got, I think, tabled at town meeting to look in the future, kind of squaring things away. So what we're trying to do is get the mooring rules and regulations until that's done to mirror the bylaw. So that we don't have one contradicting the other, where bylaws supersede the mooring rules and regulations anyway. And then while we were doing that, there was a couple of things in the mooring rules and regulations that have changed over the years. Things that the cost to remove a mooring stone, if we had to, was it near for $50? It's about $600 now, depending on the size of the stone.
Yeah.
There was some verbiage. There was some spelling errors. So that's pretty much about it. If you want to go through it, Susan?
I mean, they all have of it, they have it, and, the more substantive one is the, removal of the stone, is a lot more costly, so we rewrote it that it would be reimbursed by, whatever the cost is, so that we wouldn't have to change it in the future. Yeah,
And very simple and self-explanatory.
yeah, they're all, I mean, we left comments, it's all self-explanatory, they're a lot of cleanup and good housekeeping. There was missing information in them that we added, and bullets were not aligned and formatting things, so.
I'll add or just add clarification for the public that might be curious. This is not a bylaw. This is under the purview of the harbor master's office. We're just approving the changes of the harbor master's suggestion. But this doesn't require a town meeting or a town vote of any kind. It's
It does
already a
not.
policy, not a bylaw.
It is a, right, yeah, right, it's a rules and regulation and not a bylaw, and we update them periodically. At the end here, you see all the updates in the past, since the nineties all the way to 2023 was the last time we updated it. And then if we go back and do a bylaw again at town meeting, that would then prompt us to kind of, like, it all flows down, and we would change.
Mirror it again.
Mirror it. So something that policies and regulations we should be updating when we see something that's wrong, so. And good hygiene in the policy world, right?
Again, you and the committee has done excellent work. Many meetings where this is fabulous. Well done. That means that.
Yeah, we work very closely together with the waterways and with Susan, get this all squared away.
It's a lot. And even to find a small, clean it up. Yeah.
Clean it up, yes.
Motion? Any other
Any
questions
other
for the public?
discussion?
Anything just before motion? No, we're good.
No?
All right.
We're good.
Move to accept the changes to the meeting rules and regulations as revised May 2026.
Second.
Sure, 1 second. Slater, all in favor of the cleaned up, beautiful policies?
Bye.
It is unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank you guys. Have a great evening.
Now back to the water sewer. Might want more.
98, or maybe a little bit more.
96.
95.
Oh, 95, 96.
95.
All right, so let's start with water rates.
Okay, starting with water rates, there, we did not duplicate the slides from the last presentation 2 weeks ago. We just sought to answer the questions that were raised, which were included, the cost factors driving the rate increase, some information about water liens, more information about the rate increase breakdown by usage and base, and then a recommendation. So what has changed for fiscal 27? We still have an operational budget shortfall based on what was approved at town meeting of just over $223,000. Some of the drivers for that are personnel costs. So we had a vacant chief operator's position, which we didn't fund in fiscal 26 because it was vacant. We will be using this existing position when we open the new plant, so it was funded for fiscal 27 at 50%. Due to the great job of members of the water department pursuing their licenses, there is an increase in license stipends of $16,000. This is an excellent problem to have. We have a lot of employees, if not all of the employees, are now licensed to some degree or another. When getting these licenses, sometimes it involves a grade change. So there's $25,000 for that. And then there is not a contract for the laborers union in fiscal 27. So there's an estimated increase as well for a potential contract for fiscal 27. On the expense side, I won't read them all down for you. You can have a feel for where our cost drivers are. Fuels and lubricants, I will call out only that these were based on pre-Iran war costs. So as of our last delivery, our gasoline has increased since February 28th of this year by 71%. And our diesel costs have increased right now as of 47%. And none of this was budgeted. This is part of the reason why we have a spending freeze and a hiring freeze in fiscal 26. And depending on what develops, we may have to take further action for this in fiscal 27. The good news is the chemicals, we were very concerned, Kevin and I, and I'm sure Eric and Will were, about the chemical bid when that came in with everything that's going on with these products. And they actually came in well. You approved most of the chemical contracts at your last meeting. So the water liens that Freya brought up at the last meeting, they're considered 100% collectible. So when the actual tax bills are created in December of every year, any water or sewer bill that's more than 90 days past due will get added or leaned onto the real estate tax bill. The collection rate after that has happened is in the mid 90th percentile. So for some people, this is an active choice. They let water and sewer bills lean because then the mortgage company may pick it up. And that way it's built into their escrow. So for some people, they do this on purpose because it's easier for them budgeting. Other people, it varies from year to year. They're just having a hard year. They couldn't pay the water and sewer bill. Gets added on. So like I said, for some people, it's just a financial hardship. For other people, it's because it works out better for their budgeting. I gave you 3 years worth of data. As you can see, by the time it gets added, it becomes a tax title, which means we secure a lien against the property for unpaid real estate taxes at the Plymouth County Registry of Deeds. The vast majority has already been paid through regular collections.
That's why.
I always get choked up when I talk about rates.
Like, it's the spreadsheets, they choke you off.
11 by 17 multicolored makes me happy. So there have been a lot of rate increases. Everyone has felt them across the town. But for fiscal 26, because we did not fill that vacant position, we were able not to have a rate increase. With all of the options for you tonight, the range for the annual tax bill, the annual water bill next year is 861 to 863. So still putting us approximately in 4th out of the 11 towns around us. So what are those ranges? This is similar to what you had at the last meeting. I just added one more option, option 6, I think it is. And I broke it out based on your request, the impact on the base rate and the impact of the usage rate. So I think what's most important to you is the second to last column as to the impact to the actual ratepayer. It's a range of $22 to $26. And how you get there, it depends on how you decide to vote. The total estimated revenue is between 226 to 246, and we need about 226. So all of these options will provide what's needed to fund that budget.
All right.
So I did have a recommendation for you, only that you consider one of the hybrid rates that has at least a base rate increase of some percentage, just in case we have a terrible drought year. I don't want to be visiting
Or
you.
super El Nino.
Yeah.
You mean the predicted year, what predicted that?
The predicted.
Which means a lighter hurricane season, which is good.
Yeah.
So, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Well, one question, one comment, I guess. My question would be, when we talk about the 226 that we projected to need, and all these officers meet that minimum, is there and I mentioned this a couple meetings ago, thinking to work from a surplus and work from a deficit, is there a value here for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years where we don't want to just be talking about increases every year? Does it matter to us a $20,000, like option 1 versus option 2 is a $20,000 difference? Does that really make a difference to us thinking as a surplus benefit, or is it really small peanuts and we're not worried about the big change?
A couple of things on that question. One would be based on the concern about fuels and lubricants and that we didn't budget anything for fiscal 27. I'd like to have a little bit of a safety side. The other would be if those rates were set at that and we did bring in the, say, 246,000, that'll close back out to retained earnings and get used into the capital plan for something we don't have to borrow for. So it won't go to
benefit to a small.
Yeah, it won't go to waste. The only concern I have is if it would negatively impact the ratepayer to have that flexibility.
And I'm very cognizant of the idea that even for some of our income restricted residents, that even they're not going out to get Starbucks all the time, but we're talking about a $4 yearly difference between option 1 and 2, just as the highest and lowest. So to me, I think I said it last time, I'm in support of a base rate value to spread the difference among all of our residents, not simply leverage only people using all the water, but obviously logic to me prevails that the people using the most need to bear some brunt of that. So my comment would be that I still favor option 1 for those 2 reasons, that it splits that difference and it provides us with a theoretical cushion that might be used for possible new inflationary measures that we still don't even feel in the next 2 or 3 months. So that would be my thought.
Chair,
Yes.
I would not favor option 1. It penalizes base rate as well as usage rate. I do take into great consideration Nancy's advice to have at least something on the base rate, but the usage rate is going to be more equitably spread with bigger houses, et cetera. So I'm more inclined to compromise between the 26 and the 22 to go to option 4, which would be a $24 overall with 1% for base, 5% for usage. That's my opinion.
Option 1 for 4.
I would support 4 too. I guess I also don't, we cannot be increasing rates and talking about a cushion right now. But I think we need to increase to what we think we need, is my opinion on that. And that gets us close. I get where Nancy, the base rate gives you the sure money, right, versus the utilization. So I get that you want hybrid, even though theoretically I want option 2, I would be okay with option 4. Just because it helps us budgeting, but I just don't think we should try to get the most total estimated value when we're asking people for a lot of other things too, not just water.
Right, everything's going up.
Everything's.
And it's not fair to people who conserve, people who have grain barrels, people who do everything right to make them pay an additional 2% base. So I would agree with option 4 as well. But honestly, I would like to see people getting fined when we go into the tiers in a, we're predicted to be a drought year. That would bring us revenue. I saw some chart, it was like $50 or something that we made for people using water when we were in restrictions.
Is that something we set?
It was a bylaw change years ago.
Oh, it's a bylaw that
Yep.
it's $50? Oh,
It
great.
was the first,
Probably have to go to
no, it was the first tier.
No, it's set by the water commissioners.
Oh, we don't have to go to the legislature for it?
No, we are the water commissioners.
No, but I mean the parking.
Parking fine we did, right?
No, the legislator approved our bylaw change. It
Oh, okay,
happened
that's we.
3, 4, 5 years ago. No.
Okay. I
But
mean,
it wasn't pre-COVID, which I wrote it on my computer.
It's on your
That's
sheet.
secondary to these rates. That's a good option.
Well, I mean, if we're looking for
It's
more
things to have.
revenue, I
If we
would.
stay focused on the rates, we
Yes.
can always do that.
I said option 4, and I encourage people actually being fined and increasing revenue.
Me too.
so maybe we'll put that on another agenda.
We love
Put it on our another agenda list. Sorry.
What do we
I just got the same.
I got it.
Fines.
Oh, fines for water, fines.
There's currently fees that are on your schedule. It's $50 for a water restriction violation, and then a water violation is $100.
All right.
Okay.
Seems we have, those 3, 4. I mean, yeah, I mean, I would go for 4 or 5, but, there's a lot, we are gonna be, I think Susan's right, we're gonna be asking for a lot. I get the cushion, I'm with you on that, but wait till we get another sewer.
I mean,
It's all
I understand.
cumulative. It's already gonna
When
be
I look
tough.
at a couple of slides back and going all the way to, of course, as usual, Nancy's charts are awesome and, 2012, 13, 14, 15, we had 10%, 10%, 19%. Now, there may be very good reasons that are in the minutes that I'm not seeing right in front of me, but
Yeah, deferred maintenance.
in 6 or 7 years, we increased rates essentially 120%.
Yeah.
In the last 4 years, right, we've got 2%, 3%, and potentially 2, 3, 4%, 5%. So I think we're being very fiscally responsible to our residents, doing what we can to minimize the impact of the increases, especially considering all of the other numbers are way more than 3, 4, and 5% when we talk about 71% gas increase. So I'm okay with staying on the conservative side, and as long as we understand that could very well mean that we're having the exact same conversation about another 4 or 5% increase again this time next year.
Yeah.
So
I don't have a problem with that.
And that's okay. This is fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah,
6
maybe
very
prices
but
will
other
go
than
down.
Rates annually. We
Maybe.
thought this was another
It's
year.
6, this is 6%.
That's fine, we saw we did.
Yeah, no matter what we do, it's 6%.
And we have to raise it.
I would still prefer to go with,
Yeah.
with option 1 or at least option 6, but that's fine.
It's one, yeah. Take a motion. Option 4.
Move to increase the fiscal year 27 water base rate by 1% and the usage rate by 5% as reflected on the fiscal year 27 water enterprise rate sheet as option 4.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Gilmore, seconded by Mr. Slagle. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 4,
4-1?
4-1.
So while I have you as a captive audience. Hold on. Stop sharing and reshare. We're going to go to sewer, but I have you as a captive audience, so I want to just ask you while you're still on water. Sure, I don't share something I'm not supposed to share. So what I want to just bring to your attention and to points that were made today, one, we're going into a drought year, which I didn't know, that's really depressing me.
And to the last time that we increased the penalties, not on the spreadsheet, so not since 2018. So if the board wanted to take a further vote to increase the water restriction fine and the water violation fine, you certainly could do that. I don't believe we can. I believe the bylaw is written at the maximum fine allowable by state law. It's like
Why don't we
50,
check into
like,
it and put it on the next meeting?
okay, we'll move to the next one.
Yeah.
And just if we're gonna be looking into that for the next meeting, I guess research question I would have would simply be, or the point of the conversation is, are we talking about an increase is needed, or are we talking about an enforcement is needed? And so-
We're talking about
Why don't we talk
enforcement,
about
and
that
we-
at the next meeting?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's
All right.
what I want.
But I think we should talk about
Sewer
both
rates, sewer rates, here we go.
Put both of those.
So similar to what we just discussed for water, we have the same format for sewer. The shortfall in this case is about 183,000. The personnel cost, again, the licenses that the sewer employees have been able to get. There is an increase on overtime because of all the multiple repair projects that are ongoing, and then the contractual increases. You can see natural gas, repair and maintenance, like we said at the last meeting, if you gave Will a limitless budget for repair and maintenance, he could spend it. Vehicle service has been a problem, and these are some of the other areas that are coming through. The sludge cake disposal, the contract renewal is pending at the end of the year, so we did well last time because we had a new vendor. I'm not sure that that's gonna change that much. And those are just the rest of the cost drivers by area. The sewer connection fees, we talked about a phase out over a number of years, as this is no longer a recurring revenue. What I'm suggesting to you tonight is to do a 5-year phase out, 3 connection fees annually of $48,000. And we will go further into that. For the sewer lien data, you have the same as water liens. Same rules apply. They also have a collection rate of the mid 90th percentile when they're added to the real estate tax bill. As you can see, there's very little outstanding that actually ends up as a lien. You know all of this, so I won't go over it. This is the rate history for sewer rate increases. Just for Freya and Nico's edification, prior boards were concerned about the ratepayers. So even though the sewer enterprise may have demonstrated that it needed a rate increase, because of the very large water rate increases, the board held off doing sewer increases. So that's why you see there's not as many rate increases, and then they start to get really chunky. And it's because of that.
So in other words, in 22 and 23, we were sort of making up for the teens when we didn't want to double hit residents.
We had a time bond study, and they told us we needed to raise our rates about 50%, and we're getting there. Of all the options you have before you, the average bill will be 1,000 to 1,023, and that still leaves us in the 5th spot of the groups that were mentioned on that slide.
We're down to 6 after Rockland.
Oh, because they're new, you can't hide from rate increases. They will find you eventually. So last year, the rate increase was $26 on average. So it is more this year if you decide to start phasing out the sewer connection fees. Nothing has changed since my last report. As of the end of May, we have a $200,000 revenue shortfall in connection fees. I don't know at this time if the sewer enterprise fund will have a revenue deficit, meaning the other lines will make up for it. So that is a very strong concern of mine. So of all the things that I would ask the board to consider, it would be to start phasing out the connection fees.
Just for my education, because I'm not sure I want to make sure I understand this. The connection fees, usually, like when I go to town sewer, I pay a connection fee. So as we add connection fees, but because we have less and less connection fees, each incremental one is doing less for our bottom line. So by phasing them out, we're basically getting that revenue here from base rate over
Yes.
5 years is what you're
We're
saying.
moving from a non-recurring to a recurring revenue.
At 16 grand per property.
And it was up over 400,000, and it was being assumed, and we've been taking it back and taking it back. Yeah, we're trying to save for North Scituate.
So we're still gonna have that connection fee, it's just not gonna go to the operational budget, or it's gonna?
There's still connection fees in the revenue forecast. It will take 5 years to get them fully out. Unless something changes where you knew there was going to be an uptick because you had more capacity, there's not a reason.
We're gonna be a huge.
But a lot of that'll be betterments, because it'll be betterments to pay for the sewer itself.
Yeah.
So that's less.
So you don't have to charge somebody a betterment and a connection fee. The connection fee is set up so that it'd be equivalent to somebody getting a betterment.
So a line goes by, you pay a connection fee for that bill. If they come back and say, we're putting in 35 apartments, then we would get connection fees for those additional units. But with the sewer going in, we don't get additional connection fees. That makes sense.
Let me put 5 new businesses in the
But
building.
that's what is going to happen in North Situate, right? Like, it's not just gonna be
That's
one business or
that's the plan.
3 units or whatever.
Right, but
It's
then-
gonna be 4 or 5, 4 stories and.
But then we get to what Nico talked about, our rates of supporting the cost of running the sewer, and those betterments would then go into your retained earnings that you would use instead of borrowing your cash things out.
Yeah, the connection fees,
Not superior, we're gonna budget better, and then if we get a boom, we get a surplus to do projects with.
then they support the capital. That's why they're so high. So you have a lot of options on the slide. You actually have one more option than the other slide. I tried to mix it up a lot, and
We need
you,
to get the two.
What are your recommendations?
anything that gives some base rate.
Some base and
Yeah.
some use.
You have to get to 230.
Yes, you need 230, 453, so all of them will get you there.
But again, just with the drought, it's like too.
My streamlined, humble opinion is I respect the fact that we're trying to exceed somewhat modestly the $230,453 issue here. So in consideration of that number, my choice would be option 5. 2% base increase and 6.5% usage increase, which would net overall $236,570.
I agree with Tammy.
I mean, it's similar theory to the last one, it's
Exactly.
just we've got a
Not
higher,
rocket
we've got
science.
more to deal with.
It is, I mean, how come option 4 gets you 239?
I don't
3,000.
It's 7.7.
But I mean, I'm fine. with either one. Nico?
The usage drives it, and
All the usage.
Yeah, I'll agree with Jamie, I'm closer on this one. I also think we have more of a long-term thought process here.
Yeah. And you're phasing out the other aspect.
Yeah,
I
great.
like the budgeting direction, so I think.
Great.
I'm okay with that.
Motion?
Yeah, you got it.
Move to increase the fiscal year 27 sewer enterprise base rate by 2%. And the usage rate by 6.5% as reflected on the fiscal year 27 sewer enterprise rate sheet at option number 5.
Second.
Gilmore. Seconded by Mr. Slagle, sorry, I was words. All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Bearing with us on these.
Oh, you.
And Widows Walk will be before you for their annual rate increase in the fall.
Right,
I talked to Ian, he wants to get through the season.
yeah, good plan.
I'll just ask the board, since we were talking about increasing the water rates, would we be interested in increasing the rates for street openings if it's a moratorium street from 5 to 10? So for a moratorium street, after we pave it, if somebody comes in and they want to cut into that street, it's a $5,000 fee. Seems more and more people are just, okay, here's the 5. Would the board be interested in upping that to like 10,000?
Well, because I would think the costs of that are now really high.
Petroleum-based products, right?
Yeah, petroleum products.
My question would be that maybe I'm missing something, but there are gonna be times when somebody just doesn't care that we just paved their road and they wanna make it look ugly again because they feel like it's their time today. Versus, are there a lot of cases where it's somebody that may be on a more fixed budget, but just really timing with what it was, and they have to do it right after we pave the Jericho Road? Are there a lot of situations like that, or is it just more that they don't care what we just did?
Most of them are for new building and new construction. I mean, there are the occasional people who are adding gas or something to that effect, but,
Is there a way to distinguish it or?
We gotta stick. to-
sorry.
But yeah, I think the answer is yes, though. Put it on the next.
Yeah,
agenda.
we'll take under advisement.
Yeah.
All right.
I think the answer is yes. Put it on the
Next.
agenda. Yeah.
Outdoor seating policy. Yeah, we have hard copies.
You have a hard copy? No, you got it sent in the morning. It wasn't in the big packet, it was a separate email.
Well, I have it here.
Yeah, you have a hard copy, but you got a separate email.
All right, so Jim, I'll let you kind of talk about this a little bit. I'll tee it up. There's essentially, this was written and done by town council. This is a collection of things that we already do. But we're putting everything under one roof. The recommendation was, hey, we need to have one central location for all this instead of having different pieces. Part of this is cleanup. Part of this is getting rid of red tape and getting rid of bureaucracy and just making things easier. So if we do anything, we stick with state law.
And just to
am I describing that wrong? That we're
just to write down what the requirements are for outdoor dining. You don't have it written down anywhere. So council said, in order to make sure you treat everybody the same, you want to write it down. This is, as Andrew said, this is what we do. I think the only addition is we asked the health department, the fire chief also to sign off on outside dining, which we haven't done in the past, but he suggested that be on there. From this, what's else, otherwise, it's basically the requirements that we put on now.
The building department sign up on it?
Yeah, he has to sign off to make sure that you have.
The
He's
unobstructed
like the
pedestrian
ADA
zone?
officer.
Yep.
Yeah.
And on the ADA part too, I know we went back and forth in council, double check to make sure, and so we're fully compliant.
36 inches.
It is, yeah, I would have thought it was different, but it's not, that is. And then, I think the only other addition was the fact that we made sure the furniture was safe.
Yeah.
But other than that, everything is what we're doing.
I have just a question for clarification.
Sure.
If you go down to item number 5, public rights of way and parking, specifically bullet point parking impacts. If outdoor dining utilizes public parking spaces, parklets, which are in our zoning book, I know, the applicant must demonstrate a plan for maintaining traffic safety. What does that plan look like?
That would be the barriers that we talk about.
Thank you. That
It
answers that.
it would depend.
And that's in here, and it's also very well described. Barriers are more than barriers. So
Depending on where it is, Jamie, the one that we have would be the barriers. How are you gonna separate the area from the traffic?
Fine, perfect, thank you.
And this all, and again, so I'll go through this. So again, general admission, so approval authority, all outdoor dining, everything still comes through the select board. We're just writing everything down. Got it. Permit duration, 3-year cycle, operating season, April through November, which is typically what we do. Alcohol ADA, that's all state law. Got it. Hours of operation, that's conditioned by the select board.
Consistent with what we're doing.
Okay, I just again, so people at home will know what we're talking about.
So, for example, the galley would now have a 3-year
No, they don't.
license, or
Subject to yearly annual.
it's their seating could be for 3 years, or because they're serving alcohol, they're gonna have to come to us every year no matter what.
So the alcohol part, my understanding that was yearly, am I wrong on that, Jim?
Well, you give them outdoor seating, it can be for 3 years on the sidewalk agreement. The galley, they have to come back annually for
Park clubs. With the park.
because you only give them approval for 1 year on the parking.
In other words, it's not an automatic 3-year.
Right.
So Hibernian's 3 years, Soft Society is 3 years, those are the length of the sidewalk agreement that we have with them. Galleys in the parking spot, so you make them come back annually.
The sidewalk is too
Where
narrow
does
to
it say
have.
that though?
That's what you have done in the
That's,
past.
cause that's not, it's not under 5.
Yeah, I mean, we can add it.
It's not there, yeah, I mean, it's not,
You
it's
can
not
add it
there.
to number 5 if I think, because number 5 speaks to
It's the parklets.
parklet,
Oh, yeah.
so I
Well,
think
then-
you could add it to 5.
You also have, it is under general administrative part, permit duration licenses are issued on a 3-year cycle to provide business stability, subject to annual administrative reviews.
Oh, yeah.
So we can add it, but that's
You better-
the unique thing about the galley, the board only gives them 1 year at a time on the outdoor park.
Okay, great, you put it under 2, not 5.
Yeah, we could put it, add to the second bullet under 2. Okay.
It's in the second bullet of them.
It is.
Yeah, subject to.
Because we're the administrative review.
Yeah, that's it.
I love the.
So then should we be reviewing the other one, like? It says the licenses are issued on 3-year cycle to provide business stability, subject to annual administrative review, so are we reviewing the Hibernian and Salt Society? Like, we're not trying to be difficult.
No, you don't have to review them.
We're allowing ourselves.
Okay, so you're getting a lot of complaints about the Hibernians, not all pick up Hibernian, but if people are complaining about their outdoor dining. You bring them back in, if we do the dining, what they're doing, how they're doing it, decide if we want to redo that.
If everything's okay,
And
so
so-
complaints, then we can just pass by.
Right. So our policy is alcohol typically like Mead has outdoor dining. Right. And Coffee Corner, tables out
Oh, yeah,
there.
they have.
Coffee Corner technically has, I know, but I'm just saying, this was part of it to be like, let's all
Someone, basically,
coffee shop.
the reason for this is someone comes and says, I want to do outdoor dining. There you go. That's what it needs to do.
This is for Shari and everyone else to say, here are our standards of what we're doing. Here, if you want to do it, and then we can still say,
Still say no, yes.
no, yes, whatever. We just have guidelines, what everyone can do. That makes sense?
I think it would make me happier to clarify the sidewalk versus the parking, and I will say for the record, I have had several people reach out to me and complain about the Hibernian sidewalk dining.
In terms of what though?
Just the ability to pass through. I don't know if they have tape measures.
If we get that complaint, the building inspector is sent down to the measure. So I can send Bob down to the bottom.
So stop complaining to me and call Shari.
Let us know that you're getting a complaint, we'll send, we do it all the time with Bob, he goes down there.
Yeah.
Measures it out, it's happened more than once.
We said this to the disabilities. Yes.
Questions, it's kind of private property, so, like, I'll use me as an example, but I'm not planning on be opening much, but, you know, I have a huge patio there, so does this timing and stuff restrict me, or like no more, or Widows Walk, or Chica's, it has their own private space, their own private lot?
You still need to get approval for the alcohol sales outside your licensed premise.
Right, but if I have a approval for alcohol to sell till midnight or 1 or whatever, I don't know, it's not selling alcohol anymore either, so. But if I had it till midnight, would I be able to serve it till midnight on my own private patio?
You would have to come to the board for permission to serve outside. Because you don't have it now in your license, or do you?
I don't have.
You have a license, okay. So the
But what I'm
board,
saying is, what I'm saying is it says right here, operation outdoor dining must cease by 10 PM or 11 PM. And I'm saying no more Widows Walk, TK's, and me, for instance, I have my own private patio on my,
or is otherwise conditioned by the board.
okay.
So
I would take out the word private property there.
But you still,
And you're conditioned by the board.
but you have a liquor license that is issued by the board.
Right, but so are you saying that you can tell me, you guys can decide, we don't want Linda serving past 10 on her own private patio?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we just went through this with the.
Yeah, we just had the VFW come in.
We're
They
trying
have
to
a brand new
standardize the
patio.
hours.
I'm just asking.
They have a brand new patio.
But it would seem to me that if the business has their own private space, they should be allowed to serve until they close.
So here's what happened before, is that like, this is like years ago, like, we saw like 3 different businesses had like 3 different, like TK's was at 10, and I'm making this up, but I don't remember, like, one was at 10, one was at 11, another one was at 9:30, Windows, so we're trying to make everything the same. But yeah, I mean, we stopped at, TK's outside now, 11. This is everything 11.
I think it depends on the day of the week.
Well,
Yeah.
the entertainment is different from the liquor license.
Correct.
So.
Which is kind of.
But that's for every business, when you're, and even inside, outside, the board determines your hours of operation. So you can serve outside.
Salt marsh, same thing.
Inside, outside, that's a conditional license.
And then, as far as the 36 inches goes, I know you're saying you sent it to the, attorney, but, I mean, Mass Architectural Access Board, the, ADA Pedestrian Access Route, Federal Highway Administration, Institute of Transportation and Engineers, you know, they all say it's a minimum of 4 feet for ADA because
They recommend that so you can pass 2 different directions.
you can't have 2 people walk by in Salt Society and Hibernian, which means that somebody who relies on a guide person or somebody to lean in, they cannot walk through there. An adult with a child cannot walk through there. It's a single lane, not single for 2 people, it's single. One person can walk by. I mean, look how wide my waist is. 2 people aren't getting by with me at 36 inches, at least not comfortably. And I do think I would like the attorney to look at that because it's all over the place. Massachusetts requires a pedestrian way width for a business district of 4 feet. The Mass Architectural Access Board, all these boards, the highway thing, all say minimum of 4 feet.
We have sidewalks all over town that are 4 feet.
If it's considered a pedestrian way in like a business district where there's constant traffic going.
There's also, everybody,
I just wanna make
there's
sure you
also
look
a
at it.
clause that says, if the walk area is narrower, so long as there are pull-off areas where you can get out of the way and let somebody go through, that exists.
Yeah, that I can run it by
There
again.
is not a pull-off at Salt Society, because the pull-off is in the middle of the driveway leaving from Mill Wharf.
Sure there
So-
is, because the technique, so.
If
I
you're
understand
walking
that
from
you-
TK's and going by Salt Society, and you get towards Salt Society and someone coming in your direction, you have to stand in that exit way from the Mill Wharf parking lot. I've seen people do it, I've seen them try to hold their kids, I've seen them go with their strollers out into the street. You can't, and I watch a woman, there's somebody in town who relies on her husband to walk down in the harbor. They cannot get by at Salt Society or Hibernian. Those tables were up against the restaurant at one point, then they got pulled out, then they got flower boxes added. Hibernian, same thing. I'm not saying they can't have them, I'm just saying there's certain spots where it's just not feasible. Try walking with a kid, by Hibernian or in Salt Society, you can't.
Yeah, that was, so I actually went down with my 8-year-old and we measured every place that was down there. Do you know what was amazing? You know the one of the tightest spots was actually the music store. With
Right.
those
With
stupid,
the garbage can and the
They got rid of the benches by
the tree and the
garbage
stupid,
can.
The benches. They got rid of the benches.
flower
Flower
boxes.
boxes that are hanging
That
off
was
the
under
hinges.
by the sign store, I gotta say the name right. There's only 2 feet there. The bowling alley, 3 feet, coffee corner, 3 feet, 3.3 inches, the Harbor Walk sign, the bike rack is 36 inches, bowling bike rack 34 inches. Dribbles is 3.3 inches, Salt Society is 36, you can usually get a good 4 or 5 more inches there,
I'm just saying, I would check it out, because it seems.
I know,
like
those
the
wide-
rest
those wide,
of
yeah.
the world is 4 feet, and it says minimum, and that's the other thing, it says minimum. We got rid of half the parking on Front Street to make Front Street more walkable. and now we're making it less walkable.
So I think what we're doing also, Mr. Chairman, is we're actually improving the business climate on Front Street, because we are somewhat now more of a resort town than we were 50 years ago. That's the whole purpose of why we redid Front Street, was to give that sidewalk walkability. And now, yes, we're adding tables outside at specific times to improve the resort condition of the town, which is what attracts people to the town.
I can double check with council.
Well, we can edit to make sure that the ADA compliance is in line with all
Definitely.
state
The
regulations.
36 inches is also for last part.
And then I did have one other question, because I know that somebody asked if there was charges for the private businesses to use the public way, and somebody said, yes, it's $2,500. That charge, is my understanding, is for the barriers that are being used. I believe the person was asking, what are the charges for using the sidewalk and using the parking spots, if there are any, because that is town property. The only other thing I would say is you're putting seats on the sidewalk. So what if, Welch Company, Sandy's, Out of Blue, all want to take their 3 feet of space?
They should come before this board.
No, there's a policy.
That's for outdoor seating, it's not for,
Right now, we do not charge for the use of the sidewalk or the parking spots, just for the barriers.
Yes, so for my part, I understand this is very important to you, Linda, and there are other people this is very important to, and it's important to me that we solidify a policy like this, not as a reaction to the recent conversations as much as a practicality of trying to be consistent in the future. I think that's what we're trying to do tonight. But to your point, I got all your emails, I read all your emails, and I took pretty much every single link and I explored those links. Everyone that I followed down that rabbit hole was a recommended increase from 36 inches, not a state law, not a bylaw, not any law. It was all recommendations by other committees and boards and commissions and state, environments. So I'm happy to have Bob and whoever we want double check that the legal implications are safe at 36 inches, so we're not breaking any state rules. But the legal requirement is 36 inches, the ADA legal requirement is 36 inches. So this standardizes that. If we have an interest in making something bigger for some specific reason, for a specific resident that lives right next to one of these venues and has to use that specific crossing spot every single day, I'd be more than happy to do that under this new policy, which allows us leeway to try and do that. But as a baseline for what the minimum is, I don't want to support anything greater than 36 inches because we don't even meet that in some public spaces now. And I don't want to set a scenario in which we are increasing state guidelines and law to a point where we have to actually go beyond that. Other than to take case by case bases where we might have a public interest that's really specific to someone's needs.
I would just request again that you check with all those government agencies that I just mentioned that say required minimum 4 feet. That's all I'm asking. If it comes back that it's 36, then it's 36. And I still don't think that's ideal for 2 people to walk holding hands down the street. If you're gonna make them go single aisle, I guess that's up to
We
you.
also have sidewalks on both sides of Front Street.
Yeah.
They're
No, but I mean,
crosswalks.
yards. Complying with the law.
We
is-
should comply with.
I'll make sure it's right.
Yes.
In
I don't
terms of
think
a
we need to
fee, that would be a different vote fee, guys. That'll be under your
And I'm not
fee
supportive,
structure.
not supportive of charging for our sidewalk.
All right. So
What if ended up charging their way out of
I have
it?
no other comments on this.
Yeah, no, can I make a super minor change? Can we make sure we have an approved date at the bottom of it?
Yeah.
For track change?
Of course,
Okay,
yeah.
just so that we're like, the
Yeah.
policy, we know that it was approved on.
Yes,
this
of course,
date.
yeah.
Okay.
I just put the draft date on there, and so the draft, maybe
I didn't see a date, maybe I got a different.
there's not a date on it, but at some point I sent one that said
Yeah,
draft.
it's super minor, but we should
The
do.
last thing, remember, this is a policy. They just got it.
I know, but just,
Yeah, we'll make sure there's an approved date.
Motion.
Yeah, again, no, just illustrate, exactly. I mean, I'll tell you why I support this. and we'll put it's really private, other businesses were not being treated the same.
No, I
They
totally
were like,
agree.
let's get it all the same. And again, these are guidelines that we can
That we can.
revisit and say, yeah, but so if you want to add a line, make sure that we're under state guidance, I'm fine with.
I'm okay with that. I am just relieved now
I
that
could
we
put
have
that
a
in
way
motion,
to
Mr. Chair.
treat people equally.
I can put that in motion.
Yeah, so if you do that, under ADA compliance,
And state guidance.
No, I think the entire document needs to comply with state guidance.
yeah, that's true.
So let's
That'll
just
cover
put
that at
in
the end.
motion.
Can't override state law.
You can't.
Was there's, just, I think, is there something you have to, I forgot.
I think we've
Year
added
review.
that, right?
It's already there.
Or it's already there?
It's already there. The annual review is already there.
Motion, Mr. Chair.
Are we ready?
Good.
I'm ready.
I think we're
Motion
good.
for some
Yes,
equity.
we'll triple check, but we're gonna put it in as well.
Move to adopt the outdoor seating policy as written in the draft Town of Scituate outdoor dining policy and regulations dated 5/26/26 and in conformity with all state laws and regulations.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Gilmore, second, Ms. Harrison. Getting late. All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous.
All right. What do we got?
Oh, really, no, I'm leaving.
Okay, no. Don't worry.
Good night.
The veterans
How do I vote this?
and harbor, just two folks, filling out petition.
Oh, we don't,
Oh,
where,
this is,
where are we?
we gotta do the board and committee.
What is
The
going
board and
on?
committees.
Right. These are the ones that didn't show up.
Are we there?
Yeah, veterans and.
This one
Ah.
has.
DEI and Lucy Ambry with all.
Lucy Ambry did not.
I was
So
not here.
let's just not vote for them.
Alright, so veterans, he was.
Schumann, he's great.
Fabulous.
Make a motion.
Motion.
Move to appoint Vincent Von Tate to the Veteran Service Advisory Council for a term of 3 years or until his successor is named.
Second.
Gilmore seconded by Michelle, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
You're gonna do each one.
Yeah, because then we don't have to do this massive regurgitation.
Those,
We don't do Rockabaca.
so DEI, we're skipping coastal. We don't have a,
I would recommend Megan for her resume.
I agree.
I mean, they're both really good.
They were really good.
I'm just stating that they're both really good, so it's tough as it is.
I would say that, when we asked them,
We gotta do
when
something.
we asked them the questions about whether he would be willing to do another board, she was more amenable to do anything. He was kind of like, well, I really wanted to do this, so I'm just making the observation.
You think?
I think they both sort of leaned into this committee.
Oh, yeah, they did.
I mean, I think the word she used was, this one really spoke to me.
Yeah.
But I think her resume and her background and her experience kind of speaks for itself relatively, between the two candidates. And I don't think either of them was completely opposed to the recommendation that there are other options to look at to support the town. I just thought she had a better experience level in this environment. I would for Megan.
Cold purple. Well, sorry. He might be good for that. All right.
Sorry, do we, lost my mind.
Oh, Margaret.
There's somebody who's on the coastal advisory who I've never seen at a meeting. Do we just, in a year, take, the chair takes the attendance, right? And basically if you don't, no?
I take a more proactive approach. If I have a committee and I ask the chair to reach out to see if they still have time to commit because they haven't attended. And typically people will respond and say, I don't have time anymore. And then open it.
I mean, we
It's just the
literally
easier
just
way to do
I know, but
it. Yeah.
we literally just appointed like 7 people.
We
There's
did.
like nobody on that committee.
Exactly.
We appointed like 7 people and this person, I've never seen, but I don't make it to every meeting.
That's a good point. I think,
I mean,
I think we could look to add Megan tonight, and we could reach out to that committee member and see if maybe Micah's spot opens up. Or he's interested.
Any other comments, Megan or Micah?
I have a motion then.
All right.
Move to appoint Megan Scott to the Coastal Advisory Commission as an inland resident for a term of 3 years or until a successor is named.
Second.
Mr. Chairman, everybody. Schlegel, all in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Harbor Cultural.
One person.
One person. I can make a motion.
Yes, do
Motion.
it.
Move to appoint Danielle Robertson to the Scituate Harbor Cultural District Committee for a term of 2 years or until a successor is named.
Mr. Gilmore, second by Ms. Harrison, all in favor? Aye. It's unanimous. Council on Aging.
Okay, we need the voting member and then the associates.
I mean, what do you want to do there? They all said they want to be on, so we should move them all on and then what do you do?
I think, let's put Mary on, because I want to.
As
Mary
the
is the
voting?
voter?
Is the voting, yes.
Yeah,
I agree.
I agree.
All right, so here we go.
He was a veteran, we should get him on veterans. All right, go for it.
Move to appoint Mary Penny to the Council on Aging for a term of 3 years or until a successor is named.
Second.
Can I finish?
Further move.
Further move to appoint Michael Sauter and John Penny as associate non-voting members.
Second.
Mr. Gilmore, second by Mr. Slagle, all in favor?
Aye.
It is unanimous. Nancy, we have a motion to declare surplus.
No,
Motion.
you
No, you gotta do reappointments, you gotta.
Oh, all right, fine.
I can do those, I'm gonna read them all as one. So,
Yes,
okay?
do it.
Yes, please.
Move to reappoint Richard Waiter and Thomas Call to the Veteran Service Advisory Council for a term of 3 years or until a successor is named. Further, move to reappoint Kathleen Magoyelzel and Suzanne Hoffmeister to the Scituate Harbor Cultural District Committee for a term of 2 years or until a successor is named. Further, move to reappoint Joan Blanchard and William Hedgerick to the Coastal Advisory Commission, resident coastal, for a term of 3 years or until a successor is named. And further, move to reappoint Betty Tufan-Jankian to the Sister City Francisco Breed Committee for a term of 3 years or until a successor is named.
Second.
Gilmore, second by Mr. Slagle, all in favor? Aye. Unanimous. Jamie, would you like to declare some surplus? Does anyone have a question that, what do you?
We have no.
Nonsense?
No, very
questions.
detailed lists.
Where's that motion for that surplus?
Here, I'll do it. Move to declare the attached listing of items as surplus for auction to the public.
Second. Moved by Saracen, seconded by Dr. Fasico, all in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Sorry, Danny, you were gonna say?
All right, no. Nice correspondence whenever you're ready.
No, you've got
No,
it.
next record back from 20B municipal
If
employees.
you would like to go through it, give it up.
I move the select board approves the following employees to be employed by 2 Scituate town departments. Adam Grucho, SPS and Rec. Amanda Kent, SPS and Rec. Andrew Loretz, SPS and Rec. Andy Barlow, SPS and Rec. Ryan Robinson, SPS and Rec. Caroline Kelly, SPS and Rec. Cheryl Frazier, SPS and Rec. David Jordan, SPS Coach and Rec. David Mahare, SPS Coach and Rec. Ellen Burke, SPS and Rec. Eleanor Fleming, SPS and Rec. Karen Colbert, SPS and Rec. Gail Hedstrom, SPS and Rec. Jessica Vange Whittier, SPS and Rec. Jim Thomas, SPS and Rec. Laura Burton, SPS and Rec. Laura Counter, SPS and Rec. Lisa Howell, SPS and Rec. Matt Hoyer, SPS and Rec. Michael Orman, SPS and Rec. Molly Galasito, SPS and Rec. Paul Papinis, SPS Coach and Rec.
Mr. Chair.
It's more than this. Sarah Lannon, COA instructor and Rec instructor. Tom Connor, Widows Walk and Rec. Will Yance, SPS and Rec.
Mr. Chair, could the honorable patron of the board here repeat all that again, please?
Motion by Mr. Slagle, second by Dr. Fanisenko. All in favor?
Aye.
4 and 1 abstention. I'm gonna abstain.
Why?
I'm abstaining.
Oh, half of them are my kids'
Direct.
teachers, is that?
Direct, well,
Oh,
direct
okay.
neighbor.
I'm like, I recognize a lot of those names.
I have some good correspondence.
No, you don't.
I do.
Please.
I'll filter through it as quickly
You
as
do have
possible.
some good.
I have a really, one I want to read in, and then the rest I'll paraphrase it out as we go. A letter to Chief Mark A. Donovan, Scituate Fire Department, May 15, 2026, letter of profound gratitude. Dear Chief Donovan, I am writing this letter to formally express my deepest gratitude for the heroic and professional actions of four members of your Scituate Fire Department, namely Captain Eric Norland, Officer Greg McKenzie, Officer Matt Meehan, and Officer Mike Ahlers. A few weeks ago, an individual assisted me when I had something stuck in my throat. Fortunately, I was not far from the fire station close to the center of town. I did not actually realize that it was open, but in the desperate attempt to be able to breathe, I pulled into the front yard. They immediately attended to me with extraordinary skill. They cleared my throat to allow me to breathe freely. As a separate matter, and a long overdue thank you to James Sweetie and Jack Bowman, as well as the above, as they assisted my wife when she had a medical issue at the local gym. Their assistance required the insertion of an IV needle, for which they accomplished with incredible expertise. In fact, at the South Florida Hospital, two doctors were unable to insert the IV needle without the assistance of a third individual whose specialty was IV's insertions. The town of Scituate is fortunate to be served by such high caliber professionals. Thank you for your leadership and for maintaining the department with such exceptional first responders. We are very fortunate to have such high caliber individuals serving the town through your fire department and the police department as well. With sincere appreciation, Tufa Jonkian, McDonald, Doden, Sash Giftella, Markowski, Welch, and Kramer, Allen, H. Tufa Jonkian.
Nice.
Thank you, Joe.
Excellent.
The law firm thereof. Correspondence. This is from Keith Sportek. Sidewalk repairs. He's talking about an issue on a Pondview Avenue and the gate at Minot Beach. Really pointing out filled with potholes, uneven sections, and significant dips, making them extremely difficult to navigate with strollers and bicycles on a sidewalk. As a result, many residents and visitors are forced to walk in the street. Could we not please prioritize getting this repaired at the start of the beach season? That's 25 Gannett Road. We've been invited to a legislative lunch for the Arc of South Shore. I know you've all seen those invitations on email. They'd like us to be there on the 29th from 11 a.m. to 12:30, 20 Pound Park, Unit 113, Hingham. The Arc is a really great organization. If anybody can make it, they should go. I don't know if I can. And then Scituate Select Board.
TKs.
Yeah, there's a citizen concerned that TK's in its transference to the new owner may well be changing the down to earth or the what do we want to say here? What can I pull out of here that's appropriate? Ooh.
The restaurant's character, preservation of casual, affordable, and
Thank
local
you.
first aesthetic.
We cannot mandate.
It's not part of the select board's charge.
Yeah, I just think that, people, they don't like change, and God bless them, and I understand that. That's, I think, all I have. There was some correspondence from Linda.
I think she mentioned everything.
She did.
What was her last name?
Ferguson.
Linda, yeah, I'm just drawing a
She was
blank.
very-
But there was correspondence, 2 letters from Linda
Seven letters.
Ferguson, which I think you've all seen, which I think a lot of us addressed tonight in our
Yes, we
meeting.
do.
But I wanted that on the record as well. I think that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Hey, one thing real quick, you have a grant update in your packet.
Yes.
Late this afternoon, we got notification that Mike Mitchell has got, I believe, is his 4th fiber grant for $250,000. So that's might be a third, but I'm pretty sure it's his 4th, so that's $1 million of state money to run fiber around town. So
Can I ask you a question, Jim? Or are we still on the hook for $80,000 for the old bandstand through CPC?
they took it.
That got turned back. Okay, somebody had reached out to me.
We spent about $15,000 making repairs to it, the rest of it took back.
Okay, thank you.
Approval of meeting minutes.
Need a vote.
Move to approve.
Accept the select board minutes for May 12th, 2020.
Ms. Harrison, seconded by Ms. Schlegel, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Schlegel, seconded by Ms. Harrison, all in favor?
Amen.